Chapter 21. The Revelation. The bunker buzzed with activity, the air thick with anticipation and determination. The recent success of securing advanced weaponry from the armory had bolstered their spirits, but Jack knew there was more to be discovered. The invaders' relentless attacks and the appearance of new, more formidable creatures hinted at a deeper, more sinister force at play. Jack stood in the war room, his core team, Maya, Rafe, Marcus, and Elena, gathered around. Maps and reports covered the table, the dim light casting long shadows on their faces. "We need to understand the true nature of these rifts," Jack began, his voice steady. "There's something we're missing, something that's driving the invaders' actions. If we can uncover that, we might find a way to stop them for good." Elena nodded, her eyes reflecting the same determination. "I've been analyzing the energy signatures of the rifts. There's a pattern, but it's complex. We need more data to decode it." Rafe leaned over the table, his fingers tracing the lines on the map. "We've hit their strongholds, but we haven't gone deep enough. There must be a central point, a place where all these rifts converge." Marcus's face was serious, his gaze fixed on Jack. "I'll lead a reconnaissance team. We need to find this central point and gather the information Elena needs." Jack felt a surge of gratitude and pride. "All right, let's prepare for the mission. This could be the key to turning the tide once and for all." The next morning, the recon team set out, moving swiftly through the city's desolate streets. They navigated through the ruins, their senses heightened to every sound and shadow. Marcus led the way, his eyes scanning the surroundings with military precision. As they ventured deeper into enemy territory, the signs of invader activity became more pronounced. Strange symbols marked the walls, and the air grew thick with an eerie, otherworldly energy. The team moved cautiously, their weapons at the ready. Hours later, they reached a massive structure that seemed to pulse with the same energy as the rifts. Marcus signaled for the team to halt, his eyes narrowing as he studied the building. "This is it," he whispered, his voice barely audible. "This is where it all converges." They moved closer, taking cover behind debris and ruined vehicles. From their vantage point, they could see a large entrance guarded by numerous invaders, their grotesque forms illuminated by the pulsing light. "We need to get inside and find out what's going on," Marcus said, his voice tense. "Elena, can you get a reading from here?" Elena set up her equipment, her hands moving quickly as she analyzed the data. "The energy levels are off the charts. This is definitely the source. We need to gather as much information as we can." The team prepared to infiltrate the structure, their movements precise and coordinated. They slipped through the shadows, avoiding the guards and making their way inside. The interior was even more ominous, filled with strange machinery and pulsating conduits of energy. As they moved deeper, the sense of unease grew stronger. They reached a central chamber, dominated by a massive rift that seemed to be the source of the energy. Elena began recording the data, her eyes wide with amazement. "This is incredible," she whispered. "The rift is being controlled by some kind of central intelligence. If we can find out who or what is behind this, we might be able to shut it down." Marcus nodded, his gaze fixed on the rift. "We need to get this information back to Jack. This could be the breakthrough we've been waiting for." With the data secured, the team began their retreat, moving quickly and silently through the corridors. They managed to avoid detection, making their way back to the bunker without incident. Back at the bunker, the atmosphere was electric with anticipation. Jack and the others gathered around as Elena analyzed the data, her fingers flying over the keyboard. "This is it," she said, her voice filled with excitement. "The rifts are being controlled by a central intelligence, something incredibly powerful. If we can locate it and find a way to disrupt its control, we might be able to close the rifts permanently." Jack felt a surge of hope. "Then let's get to work. We need to find this mastermind and put an end to this once and for all." Elena worked tirelessly, her focus unwavering as she sifted through the complex data. The team waited in tense silence, the weight of their hopes resting on her shoulders. Hours passed, the room filled only with the hum of machines and the occasional murmur of conversation. Finally, Elena looked up, her eyes bright with determination. "I've pinpointed the location. It's deep within the city, in an area heavily fortified by the invaders. This is where the central intelligence is located." Rafe leaned forward, studying the map. "We'll need a multi-pronged approach. A direct assault would be suicide. We need to find a way to disrupt their defenses from within." Jack agreed. "We'll divide into teams. One team will create a diversion, drawing the invaders away from the main entry points. Another team will disable the external defenses, and the main team will infiltrate and take out the central intelligence." Maya's eyes gleamed with determination. "I'll lead the team to disable the external defenses. We need to move quickly and precisely." Marcus's expression was resolute. "I'll handle the diversion. We'll hit them hard and fast, give you the opening you need." Jack looked at his team, feeling a surge of pride and resolve. "I'll lead the main team. Once we're inside, we'll have to act fast. Elena, you'll guide us through the process of disabling the central intelligence." Elena's expression was determined. "I'll be with you every step of the way. We can do this." As they finalized their plans, the sense of anticipation grew stronger. The entire community was mobilized, each member understanding the gravity of the mission ahead. They were on the brink of a decisive moment, and failure was not an option. The night before the mission, Jack stood on the balcony overlooking the central chamber. The bunker was alive with preparation, the air humming with energy and resolve. Maya joined him, her presence a comforting reminder of their shared purpose. "We've come a long way, Jack," Maya said, her voice filled with pride. "Whatever happens tomorrow, we've made a difference." Jack nodded, feeling the weight of their journey. "We have, but this is just the beginning. Tomorrow, we take the fight to them and end this once and for all." The central chamber of the bunker was a hive of activity as Elena and her team worked tirelessly to decode the information gathered from the rift site. The air was thick with tension and excitement, every member of the community aware that they were on the brink of a crucial breakthrough. Jack paced the room, his mind racing with possibilities. The data indicated a central intelligence controlling the rifts, but they needed to pinpoint its exact location and understand how it operated. Only then could they devise a plan to shut it down. "Elena, what do we know so far?" Jack asked, his voice filled with urgency. Elena looked up from her screens, her eyes bright with determination. "The energy signatures suggest a highly advanced system, possibly a fusion of biological and technological elements. It's unlike anything we've seen before. The patterns are complex, but we're starting to see some consistency." Maya joined them, her face etched with concern. "If this central intelligence is as powerful as it seems, taking it down won't be easy. We need a solid plan and the right resources." Rafe, who had been reviewing the tactical reports, spoke up. "We need to strike at the heart of their operation. If we can disrupt their control, we might be able to shut down the rifts simultaneously. It's risky, but it's our best shot." Jack nodded, feeling the weight of their mission. "Then we need to gather every resource we have. We'll need a team of our best fighters and the most advanced tech we can get our hands on." As the team continued their preparations, Elena's work on decoding the intelligence began to yield results. She pinpointed the location of the central intelligence, deep within the city, in an area heavily fortified by the invaders. "This is it," Elena said, pointing to the map on the screen. "The central intelligence is located here. It's surrounded by layers of defenses and energy fields. Getting in won't be easy, but if we can disable it, we might be able to close the rifts permanently." Marcus studied the map, his face serious. "We'll need a multi-pronged approach. A direct assault would be suicide. We need to find a way to disrupt their defenses from within." Jack agreed. "We'll divide into teams. One team will create a diversion, drawing the invaders away from the central site. Another team will disable the external defenses, and the main team will infiltrate and take out the central intelligence." Rafe's eyes gleamed with determination. "I'll handle the diversion. We'll hit them hard and fast, give you the opening you need." Maya nodded. "I'll lead the team to disable the external defenses. We need to move quickly and precisely." Jack looked at his team, feeling a surge of pride and resolve. "I'll lead the main team. Once we're inside, we'll have to act fast. Elena, you'll guide us through the process of disabling the central intelligence." Elena's expression was determined. "I'll be with you every step of the way. We can do this." As they finalized their plans, the sense of anticipation grew stronger. The entire community was mobilized, each member understanding the gravity of the mission ahead. They were on the brink of a decisive moment, and failure was not an option. The night before the mission, Jack stood on the balcony overlooking the central chamber. The bunker was alive with preparation, the air humming with energy and resolve. Maya joined him, her presence a comforting reminder of their shared purpose. "We've come a long way, Jack," Maya said, her voice filled with pride. "Whatever happens tomorrow, we've made a difference." Jack nodded, feeling the weight of their journey. "We have, but this is just the beginning. Tomorrow, we take the fight to them and end this once and for all." The next morning, the central chamber was a hive of activity. Teams gathered their gear, checked their weapons, and reviewed their roles in the mission. The air was thick with anticipation and resolve. Everyone understood the stakes and the potential consequences of failure. Rafe and his diversion team moved out first, their mission to create chaos and draw the invaders away from the central intelligence site. They navigated through the ruins of the city with precision, setting up explosives and traps along key points. As they reached their designated location, Rafe turned to his team, his voice calm and focused. "Remember, we need to hit them hard and fast. Once the explosions go off, fall back and regroup. We need to keep them occupied as long as possible." With a series of controlled detonations, the diversion team set off their traps, drawing the invaders' attention and creating a path for the other teams. The sounds of explosions and gunfire filled the air, the chaos serving its purpose. Maya's team, tasked with disabling the external defenses, moved with precision. They navigated through the debris-strewn streets, their progress marked by the systematic takedown of energy fields and automated turrets. Maya's leadership was unwavering, her team's efficiency a testament to their training and determination. "Stay sharp," Maya urged, her voice cutting through the noise. "We need to clear a path for Jack and the main team." As the defenses began to falter, Jack's team advanced towards the central site. The structure pulsed with an eerie light, the source of the rift's power palpable even from a distance. Elena's guidance was crucial, her knowledge of the energy signatures leading them through the maze of corridors. "We're close," Elena said, her voice a mix of excitement and tension. "The central intelligence is just ahead." They reached the core chamber, the heart of the invaders' control. The sight that greeted them was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. A massive, pulsating entity dominated the room, its form a grotesque blend of organic and mechanical elements. Tendrils of energy radiated from it, connecting to the surrounding machinery and rifts. "This is it," Elena whispered, her eyes wide with awe. "This is the mastermind controlling the rifts." The entity reacted to their presence, its tendrils lashing out with a fierce, malevolent energy. The team spread out, their weapons blazing as they fought to protect Elena while she worked to disrupt the control system. "Cover me," Elena shouted, her hands flying over the control panel. "I need a few minutes to initiate the shutdown sequence." Jack and Marcus coordinated the defense, their movements precise and unyielding. The entity's attacks were relentless, but the team's resolve was stronger. They fought with everything they had, their focus unwavering. "We're almost there," Elena called out, her voice strained with effort. "Just a little longer." The entity let out a deafening roar, its energy flaring in a desperate attempt to maintain control. But Elena's work was too advanced, her knowledge and skill outmatching the entity's defenses. "Now," Elena shouted, hitting the final command. "Take it down." With a final, coordinated assault, the team unleashed their full firepower on the entity. The chamber filled with the sounds of explosions and energy discharges, the entity's form writhing as it struggled against the onslaught. The entity's core shattered, the energy tendrils retracting as its control faltered. The rifts began to stabilize, their chaotic energy dissipating as the central intelligence collapsed. "We did it," Elena whispered, her voice filled with a mix of exhaustion and triumph. "The rifts are closing." The team watched as the rifts, once chaotic and uncontrollable, began to seal themselves. The air cleared, the oppressive energy lifting as the central intelligence's hold was broken. Jack turned to his team, his face reflecting their shared relief and pride. "We've taken down the mastermind. The rifts are closing. This is the beginning of the end." They made their way back to the bunker, the sense of victory tempered by the knowledge of the battle still ahead. The community greeted them with cheers and tears of joy, the realization of what they had achieved sinking in. Jack addressed the gathered crowd, his voice filled with hope and determination. "We've struck a decisive blow against the invaders. The rifts are closing and their control is weakening. But our fight isn't over. We must stay vigilant and prepare for the final push." The room erupted in applause, the unity and resolve of the community stronger than ever. As the celebration continued, Jack found a moment of quiet reflection. He stood on the balcony overlooking the central chamber, watching the scene below. The sense of unity and hope that filled the air was a powerful reminder of what they were fighting for. Maya joined him, her expression filled with pride and determination. "We did it, Jack. We've set the stage for the endgame." Jack nodded, his gaze focused on the bustling activity below. "We have. Together, we'll find a way to win." Chapter 22, The Storm. Part 1. The Gathering Clouds. The success of closing the rifts and disrupting the central intelligence had invigorated the entire community. Plans for the final assault were in full swing, with everyone contributing to the preparations. However, as they strategized, the skies over Nexalis darkened ominously, heralding a storm of unprecedented magnitude. Jack stood on the balcony, staring at the gathering clouds. The wind whipped around him, carrying the scent of rain and the distant rumble of thunder. Maya joined him, her expression mirroring his concern. "This storm is going to complicate things," Maya said, her voice barely audible over the rising wind. Jack nodded, his mind racing with potential impacts on their plans. "We need to adjust our strategy. The weather is going to make it difficult to move and communicate. We can't afford delays." They convened an emergency meeting in the war room. The room was filled with the hum of conversations and the occasional flash of lightning illuminating the maps and tactical displays. "Elena, what do we know about the storm?" Jack asked, his tone urgent. Elena consulted her data, her brow furrowed in concentration. "It's massive, Jack. High winds, heavy rain, and electrical activity. It's going to disrupt our electronics and make visibility nearly zero." Rafe, ever the pragmatist, spoke up. "We can't wait for it to pass. The invaders will regroup, and we'll lose our advantage. We need to find a way to navigate through it." Marcus, his face set with determination, nodded in agreement. "We'll need to move in smaller teams, keep communication tight, and use the storm to our advantage. The invaders will be as hindered as we are." Jack looked around at his team, feeling a mix of pride and determination. "All right, let's break into smaller units. Each team will have a specific objective, and we'll use non-electronic means of communication where possible. We need to stay flexible and adapt as we go." As the storm intensified, the teams prepared for the mission. The air was thick with anticipation and the rising scent of rain. Jack moved through the central chamber, offering words of encouragement and final instructions. "We've faced worse," Jack said, his voice steady. "Stick to your training, watch each other's backs, and remember why we're doing this. We're close to the endgame. Let's make it count." With the plans set and the teams ready, they moved out into the tempest. The wind howled around them, the rain starting to fall in heavy sheets. Jack led the first team, Maya and Marcus with him, their faces set with grim determination. The city was transformed by the storm, the familiar ruins shrouded in darkness and swirling rain. Visibility was poor, and the ground was slick with mud and debris. They moved cautiously, every step a battle against the elements. As they trudged through the streets, the storm grew fiercer, the wind whipping at their clothes and the rain stinging their faces. The occasional flash of lightning provided brief, stark illumination, casting eerie shadows and highlighting the desolation around them. "We need to find shelter and reassess our route," Jack shouted over the roar of the storm. Maya pointed to a partially collapsed building ahead. "There, we can take cover and plan our next move." They dashed across the street, the howling wind making each step a struggle. Inside the building, they found a momentary respite from the storm. The walls creaked and groaned under the force of the wind, but it provided a brief shelter. "We're making good progress," Marcus said, shaking water from his gear. "But the storm is getting worse. We need to move quickly." Jack studied the map, illuminated by a flickering flashlight. "We're close. If we cut through the old subway tunnels, we can avoid the worst of the storm and reach the central district faster." The team agreed, and they set off once more, their steps cautious but determined. The entrance to the subway was partially blocked by debris, but they managed to clear a path and descend into the relative calm of the underground tunnels. The tunnels were dark and damp, the sound of the storm muffled but still present. They moved carefully, their flashlights casting long shadows on the walls. The atmosphere was tense, every sound magnified in the confined space. As they navigated the tunnels, Melina's voice crackled over the comms, barely audible through the interference. "Jack, we're picking up increased invader activity in your area. Be on the lookout." Jack acknowledged the warning, his senses heightened. They pressed on, the tunnel gradually leading them back to the surface. As they emerged, the full force of the storm hit them once more, but they were closer to their objective. The storm showed no signs of abating as Jack's team pushed forward. The wind howled and the rain fell in relentless sheets, but the team's resolve was unshaken. They navigated the treacherous streets with care, their progress steady despite the chaos around them. Jack led the way, his eyes scanning the ruins for any signs of danger. The objective, a key invader communications hub, was close. Disabling it would disrupt their coordination and give the other teams the edge they needed. As they approached the hub, they found themselves at the edge of a wide, open plaza. The hub stood at the center, surrounded by makeshift fortifications and guarded by a contingent of invaders. The storm had forced the guards to take shelter, but they were still alert. "We need to move fast and hit hard," Jack said, his voice barely audible over the wind. "Maya, take your team and flank from the left. Marcus, you cover the right. I'll lead the main assault." The teams moved into position, using the storm to mask their approach. Lightning flashed, illuminating the plaza in brief, stark bursts of light. Jack's heart pounded in his chest as they prepared for the assault. With a signal from Jack, the teams launched their attack. Maya's team struck first, their weapons cutting through the rain and darkness with deadly precision. The invaders, caught off guard, scrambled to respond. Marcus's team hit next, their coordinated assault further disrupting the invaders' defenses. Jack led the main team straight into the heart of the hub, their advance swift and unrelenting. The plaza erupted in chaos as the teams engaged the invaders. The storm intensified, the wind and rain creating a cacophony of noise that drowned out the sounds of battle. Jack moved through the fray with purpose, his focus unyielding. He reached the communications hub, the structure looming above him. Inside, the machinery hummed with energy, the invaders' network pulsing with life. Jack set the charges, his movements precise despite the storm's fury. "Charges set," Jack shouted, his voice barely carrying over the wind. "Fall back." The teams retreated, their movements coordinated and efficient. They regrouped at the edge of the plaza, taking cover as Jack triggered the detonator. The explosion rocked the plaza, the force of the blast tearing through the communications hub and sending debris flying. The invaders' network went dark, their coordination disrupted. The teams took advantage of the confusion, pressing their attack and driving the invaders back. The storm, once an obstacle, now served as their ally, masking their movements and sowing chaos among their enemies. With the hub destroyed and the invaders in disarray, the teams regrouped and made their way back to the bunker. The storm continued to rage, but their mission was a success. They had struck a critical blow against the invaders, paving the way for the final assault. Back at the bunker, the community greeted them with cheers and relief. The storm had tested their resolve, but they had emerged victorious. Jack addressed the gathered crowd, his voice filled with hope and determination. "We faced the storm and came out stronger. We've disrupted the invaders' coordination and set the stage for our final push. The storm is our ally, and we will use it to reclaim our world." The storm showed no signs of abating as Jack's team pushed forward. The wind howled and the rain fell in relentless sheets, but the team's resolve was unshaken. They navigated the treacherous streets with care, their progress steady despite the chaos around them. Jack led the way, his eyes scanning the ruins for any signs of danger. The objective, a key invader communications hub, was close. Disabling it would disrupt their coordination and give the other teams the edge they needed. As they approached the hub, they found themselves at the edge of a wide, open plaza. The hub stood at the center, surrounded by makeshift fortifications and guarded by a contingent of invaders. The storm had forced the guards to take shelter, but they were still alert. "We need to move fast and hit hard," Jack said, his voice barely audible over the wind. "Maya, take your team and flank from the left. Marcus, you cover the right. I'll lead the main assault." The teams moved into position, using the storm to mask their approach. Lightning flashed, illuminating the plaza in brief, stark bursts of light. Jack's heart pounded in his chest as they prepared for the assault. With a signal from Jack, the teams launched their attack. Maya's team struck first, their weapons cutting through the rain and darkness with deadly precision. The invaders, caught off guard, scrambled to respond. Marcus's team hit next, their coordinated assault further disrupting the invaders' defenses. Jack led the main team straight into the heart of the hub, their advance swift and unrelenting. The plaza erupted in chaos as the teams engaged the invaders. The storm intensified, the wind and rain creating a cacophony of noise that drowned out the sounds of battle. Jack moved through the fray with purpose, his focus unyielding. He reached the communications hub, the structure looming above him. Inside, the machinery hummed with energy, the invaders' network pulsing with life. Jack set the charges, his movements precise despite the storm's fury. "Charges set," Jack shouted, his voice barely carrying over the wind. "Fall back." The teams retreated, their movements coordinated and efficient. They regrouped at the edge of the plaza, taking cover as Jack triggered the detonator. The explosion rocked the plaza, the force of the blast tearing through the communications hub and sending debris flying. The invaders' network went dark, their coordination disrupted. The teams took advantage of the confusion, pressing their attack and driving the invaders back. The storm, once an obstacle, now served as their ally, masking their movements and sowing chaos among their enemies. With the hub destroyed and the invaders in disarray, the teams regrouped and made their way back to the bunker. The storm continued to rage, but their mission was a success. They had struck a critical blow against the invaders, paving the way for the final assault. Back at the bunker, the community greeted them with cheers and relief. The storm had tested their resolve, but they had emerged victorious. Jack addressed the gathered crowd, his voice filled with hope and determination. "We faced the storm and came out stronger. We've disrupted the invaders' coordination and set the stage for our final push. The storm is our ally, and we will use it to reclaim our world." The room erupted in applause, the unity and resolve of the community stronger than ever. As the celebration continued, Jack found a moment of quiet reflection. He stood on the balcony overlooking the central chamber, watching the scene below. The sense of unity and hope that filled the air was a powerful reminder of what they were fighting for. Maya joined him, her expression filled with pride and determination. "We did it, Jack. The storm didn't stop us." Jack nodded, his gaze focused on the bustling activity below. "It didn't. Together, we'll find a way to win." As the night deepened and the storm began to abate, Jack felt a renewed sense of purpose. They had faced numerous challenges and continued to adapt and overcome. The road ahead would be difficult, but they were ready to face whatever came next. Together, they would rise above. The next morning, as the first light of dawn broke through the dissipating storm clouds, Jack and his team were already planning their next move. The invaders had been dealt a significant blow, but they knew that the enemy was far from defeated. In the war room, the team gathered around the central table, their faces reflecting a mixture of exhaustion and determination. Maps and tactical displays covered the surface, and the air buzzed with the energy of a community ready to fight back. "Elena, any updates on the invaders' movements?" Jack asked, his voice steady despite the fatigue. Elena, her eyes red-rimmed from lack of sleep, nodded and brought up a display on the screen. "Our scouts report that the invaders are regrouping. They're likely planning a counterattack, but the destruction of their communications hub has bought us some time." Rafe, always the realist, leaned forward, studying the maps. "We need to use that time wisely. Strengthen our defenses, train our people with the new weapons, and plan our next strike." Marcus added, "We also need to keep the pressure on them. We can't give them a chance to recover fully. We need to hit them again and again until they break." Maya, her eyes gleaming with determination, spoke up. "We've proven that we can face the storm and come out stronger. Let's use that momentum. Our final assault needs to be decisive." Jack looked around at his team, feeling a deep sense of pride and resolve. They had faced countless challenges and continued to rise above them. The storm had tested their limits, but they had emerged stronger and more united. "All right," Jack said, his voice filled with conviction. "We'll strengthen our defenses and prepare for their counterattack. But we won't wait for them to come to us. We'll take the fight to them. This is our home, and we will reclaim it." Chapter 23. The Descent. The storm had passed, leaving the city of Nexalis shrouded in a heavy, ominous calm. Jack knew this was the moment to strike. The invaders were reeling from the loss of their communications hub, and now was the time to push into the heart of their territory. Their objective: destroy the main rift generator. Jack stood in the war room with his core team, Maya, Rafe, Marcus, and Elena, discussing the final preparations. The map of the city displayed the location of the rift generator deep within the enemy's stronghold. This mission is critical, Jack began, his voice steady but filled with urgency. If we can destroy the rift generator, we can cut off their reinforcements and significantly weaken their hold on the city. Elena nodded, her expression serious. The generator is heavily guarded, and the area around it is a maze of tunnels and fortifications. We'll need to move quickly and quietly to avoid detection. Marcus studied the map, his face set with determination. We'll need a small, elite team for this. Any more, and we risk being spotted. Jack, you lead. Maya, Rafe, and I will go with you. Elena, we'll need you to guide us through the tunnels and handle the tech. Rafe, always ready for a challenge, grinned. Sounds like a party. Let's gear up and get this done. The team gathered their equipment, each member checking their gear with practiced precision. The weight of the mission hung heavy, but their resolve was unwavering. They knew what was at stake. As they prepared to leave, the community gathered to see them off. The sense of unity and support was palpable, a reminder of what they were fighting for. Jack addressed the crowd, his voice filled with determination. We're going into the heart of the enemy's territory to strike a decisive blow. We do this for all of us, for our future. We'll return victorious. Stay strong and be ready. The crowd erupted in cheers and words of encouragement as the team set out. The journey to the rift generator would be perilous, but they were ready to face whatever lay ahead. The city loomed around them as they moved through the deserted streets. The remnants of the storm lingered, puddles of water reflecting the gray sky. The air was thick with tension, every shadow a potential threat. They reached the edge of the enemy's territory, the atmosphere growing even more oppressive. The team paused to assess the situation, their eyes scanning the surroundings for any signs of movement. Elena consulted her equipment, her fingers moving swiftly over the controls. There's a network of tunnels beneath us that leads directly to the generator. We'll need to find an entrance and navigate through them carefully. Marcus pointed to a nearby building, its entrance partially obscured by debris. That looks like a good place to start. Let's move. The team advanced, their movements silent and coordinated. Inside the building, they found a stairwell leading down into the darkness. The air grew cooler as they descended, the sounds of the city fading into a distant murmur. The tunnels were dark and damp, the walls slick with moisture. Their flashlights cut through the gloom, revealing a labyrinthine network of passages. Elena led the way, her equipment guiding them through the maze. We're close, Elena whispered, her voice barely audible. The generator is just ahead. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps echoed through the tunnel. The team froze, their weapons at the ready. From around a corner emerged a group of invaders, their grotesque forms barely visible in the dim light. Jack signaled for the team to take cover. We need to take them out quietly, he whispered. We can't afford to raise an alarm. Maya nodded, her eyes sharp and focused. I'll take the ones on the left. Marcus, you take the right. Rafe, Jack, cover us. With practiced precision, Maya and Marcus moved into position. They struck simultaneously, their silenced weapons dispatching the invaders with deadly efficiency. The bodies fell silently to the ground, the tunnel once again shrouded in darkness. Clear, Marcus whispered, signaling the team to move forward. They advanced carefully, their nerves taut. The tunnel led to a larger corridor, the walls lined with conduits and cables. The hum of machinery grew louder, a constant, unsettling vibration in the air. We're getting close, Elena said, her voice barely audible over the hum. The generator should be just ahead. The team pressed on, their movements cautious and deliberate. Every step brought them closer to the heart of the enemy's stronghold. The weight of their mission hung heavy, but their determination was unwavering. They were prepared to face whatever lay ahead. As they approached a massive iron door, the hum of the generator grew louder. The air was thick with tension, the vibrations almost palpable. Jack took a deep breath, his resolve firm. They had come too far to turn back now. This is it, Jack said, his voice steady. Elena, can you get us through? Elena nodded, her fingers flying over her device. Give me a moment, I can override the security. The team stood guard, their eyes scanning the shadows for any signs of movement. The door creaked open, revealing a large chamber dominated by the rift generator. The massive machine pulsed with an eerie, otherworldly light, the air around it crackling with energy. We need to move fast, Jack said, his voice filled with determination. Elena, start the shutdown process. The rest of us will cover you. Elena moved quickly to the control panel, her hands moving with practiced precision. The rest of the team spread out, their weapons at the ready. The final confrontation was at hand, and failure was not an option. As Elena worked, the generator's hum grew louder, the vibrations intensifying. The ground beneath their feet seemed to pulse with energy, the air growing thick with tension. Suddenly, the chamber was filled with a blinding light. Jack shielded his eyes, his heart pounding. When the light faded, he saw a group of invaders entering the chamber, their eyes glowing with a malevolent light. Defend Elena, Jack shouted, his voice cutting through the noise. We need to buy her time. The air in the tunnels was thick with a musty scent, mingling with the faint odor of machinery and decay. The sound of dripping water echoed eerily, amplifying the sense of unease. Jack and his team moved cautiously, their flashlights casting long, wavering shadows on the damp walls. Elena's device beeped softly, guiding them through the twists and turns of the labyrinthine passages. "We're on the right path," she whispered. "But we need to stay alert. The invaders are sure to have patrols down here." Marcus took the lead, his eyes scanning every corner and shadow. His military training and instincts were invaluable in this environment. Behind him, Jack, Maya, and Rafe followed closely, their senses heightened. The tunnels seemed to stretch on endlessly, each passage leading to another, even more winding than the last. The oppressive silence was broken only by the occasional distant sound, reminding them that they were deep in enemy territory. After what felt like hours, they reached a wider corridor, the walls lined with conduits and cables. The hum of machinery grew louder, a constant, unsettling vibration in the air. "We're getting close," Elena said, her voice barely audible. "The generator should be just ahead." Suddenly, a flicker of movement caught Jack's eye. He signaled for the team to stop and took a cautious step forward. In the dim light, he could see a group of invaders patrolling the corridor. They were heavily armed and alert, their grotesque forms silhouetted against the faint glow of machinery. Jack motioned for the team to take cover. "We need to take them out quietly," he whispered. "We can't afford to raise an alarm." Maya nodded, her eyes sharp and focused. "I'll take the ones on the left. Marcus, you take the right. Rafe, Jack, cover us." With practiced precision, Maya and Marcus moved into position. They struck simultaneously, their silenced weapons dispatching the invaders with deadly efficiency. The bodies fell silently to the ground, the corridor once again shrouded in silence. "Clear," Marcus whispered, signaling the team to move forward. They advanced carefully, their nerves taut. The corridor led to a large, open chamber, dominated by the rift generator. The massive machine pulsed with an otherworldly energy, its surface covered in a tangle of cables and conduits. The air hummed with power, the vibrations almost palpable. Elena moved quickly, her fingers flying over the controls of her device. "I need to interface with the generator to shut it down. Cover me while I work." Jack, Marcus, Maya, and Rafe spread out, taking positions around the chamber. Their eyes scanned the shadows for any signs of movement, their weapons ready. As Elena worked, the hum of the generator grew louder, the vibrations intensifying. The ground beneath their feet seemed to pulse with energy, the air growing thick with tension. Suddenly, the chamber was filled with a blinding light. Jack shielded his eyes, his heart pounding. When the light faded, he saw a group of invaders entering the chamber, their eyes glowing with a malevolent light. "Defend Elena," Jack shouted, his voice cutting through the noise. "We need to buy her time." The team sprang into action, their weapons blazing. The chamber erupted in chaos, the sounds of gunfire and snarls filling the air. Jack fought with everything he had, his focus unwavering. They had come too far to fail now. Elena's fingers danced over the control panel, her face set with intense concentration. "I'm almost there," she shouted over the din. "Just a few more minutes." Jack's mind raced, every second feeling like an eternity. He glanced at Maya, who was holding her ground, her eyes sharp and focused. Marcus and Rafe were on the opposite side of the chamber, their weapons cutting down invaders with deadly accuracy. "We need to hold them off," Jack called out, his voice filled with determination. "We can't let them reach Elena." The invaders, sensing the importance of the generator, intensified their assault. Jack's muscles burned with exertion, but he pushed on, driven by the knowledge that their mission was critical for the survival of their world. Just as the invaders seemed to gain the upper hand, a loud beep emanated from Elena's device. "I've done it," she cried, her voice triumphant. "The generator is set to overload. We need to get out of here now." Jack's heart surged with relief. "Fall back," he shouted, his voice echoing through the chamber. "Everyone, move." The team fought their way towards the exit, their movements synchronized and efficient. The generator behind them began to pulse erratically, the lights flickering wildly as the overload sequence initiated. As they reached the corridor, a massive explosion rocked the chamber. The force of the blast sent shockwaves through the tunnels, the ground trembling beneath their feet. The lights went out, plunging them into darkness. "Keep moving," Jack urged, his voice steady despite the chaos. "We need to get clear of the blast radius." They sprinted through the tunnels, the sound of secondary explosions echoing behind them. The air was filled with dust and debris, making it difficult to see and breathe. But they pressed on, driven by the need to survive and complete their mission. The tunnels twisted and turned, the maze-like passages disorienting even the most experienced members of the team. Elena's device guided them, the soft beeping their only reassurance in the oppressive darkness. As they rounded a corner, the ceiling above them shook, dislodging chunks of debris. The ground beneath their feet cracked, sending tremors through the team. They pushed forward, the sense of urgency propelling them through the labyrinth. "We're almost out," Elena said, her voice strained with effort. "Just a little further." The tunnel opened up into a wider passage, the air fresher and the sound of the explosions growing more distant. Jack could see a faint light ahead, a welcome beacon in the suffocating darkness. Head for the light, Jack shouted, his voice filled with hope. We're almost there. The team pushed forward, their pace quickening despite their exhaustion. The light grew brighter, revealing the exit to the tunnels. They burst out into the open air, the city of Nexalis spread out before them. They took a moment to catch their breath, their bodies aching from the exertion. The sky was beginning to lighten with the first hints of dawn, the storm clouds finally clearing. We did it, Maya said, her voice filled with a mix of exhaustion and triumph. We actually did it, Jack nodded, a sense of profound relief washing over him. The generator is destroyed. The invaders' reinforcements will be cut off, and their hold on the city will weaken. Marcus and Rafe joined them, their expressions reflecting the same sense of accomplishment. We need to get back to the bunker and plan our next move, Marcus said. This is a major victory, but the fight isn't over. As they made their way back to the bunker, the full weight of their achievement began to sink in. They had struck a decisive blow against the invaders, disrupting their control and paving the way for the final assault. The community greeted them with cheers and tears of joy, the realization of what they had achieved spreading like wildfire. Jack addressed the gathered crowd, his voice filled with hope and determination. We've destroyed the main rift generator and cut off the invaders' reinforcements. This is a turning point in our battle, but we must stay vigilant and prepare for the final push. Together, we will reclaim our world. The room erupted in applause, the unity and resolve of the community stronger than ever. As the celebration continued, Jack found a moment of quiet reflection. He stood on the balcony overlooking the central chamber, watching the scene below. The sense of unity and hope that filled the air was a powerful reminder of what they were fighting for. Maya joined him, her expression filled with pride and determination. We did it, Jack. We've set the stage for the endgame. Jack nodded, his gaze focused on the bustling activity below. We have. Together, we'll find a way to win. Chapter 24, The Overlord. The destruction of the rift generator had dealt a significant blow to the invaders, but Jack knew their victory was far from complete. The true mastermind behind the invasion, the monstrous overlord, still needed to be defeated. Intelligence gathered from recent skirmishes indicated the overlord lair was deep within the heart of the enemy's territory, a place of unimaginable danger. Jack assembled his core team in the war room. The atmosphere was tense, charged with a mix of anticipation and dread. The map displayed the location of the overlord lair, a heavily fortified stronghold that pulsed with dark energy. This is it, Jack said, his voice steady. The final confrontation. The overlord is the source of their power. If we take it down, we can end this invasion for good. Maya's eyes were filled with determination. We've come this far. We're ready. Rafe cracked his knuckles, a grim smile on his face. Let's finish what we started. Marcus nodded, his expression resolute. We'll give it everything we've got. Elena provided the final briefing, her fingers flying over her tablet. The lair is protected by multiple layers of defenses, and the overlord itself is unlike anything we've faced. We'll need to disable the external defenses first to gain entry. The team geared up, each member checking their equipment with meticulous care. They knew the risks, but their resolve was unwavering. They moved out at dawn, the first light casting long shadows over the war-torn city. The journey to the overlord lair was fraught with danger. The closer they got, the more oppressive the atmosphere became. The sky darkened, a perpetual twilight that seemed to sap their energy. Strange, twisted vegetation choked the streets, and the air was thick with an acrid stench. As they neared the stronghold, they encountered increasing resistance. Packs of invaders roamed the streets, their eyes glowing with a malevolent light. The team engaged in quick, brutal skirmishes, their efficiency honed by months of relentless combat. Finally, they reached the outer perimeter of the overlord lair. The structure loomed before them, a towering edifice of black stone and pulsating energy. The air hummed with power, and the ground trembled beneath their feet. We need to disable those defenses, Jack said, pointing to the series of glowing pylons that surrounded the lair. Elena, you and Rafe handle the tech. The rest of us will cover you. Elena and Rafe moved quickly, their fingers working with practiced precision. The rest of the team formed a defensive perimeter, their eyes scanning the shadows for any signs of movement. The pylons began to dim one by one, their glow fading as Elena and Rafe disabled their energy sources. The ground beneath them shuddered, the defenses weakening with each passing moment. Suddenly, a group of invaders burst from the shadows, their forms distorted and twisted. The team sprang into action, their weapons blazing. The battle was fierce, the air filled with the sounds of gunfire and snarls. Hold them off, Jack shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. We're almost there. Elena's device emitted a final beep, signaling the complete shutdown of the pylons. The last of the defenses fell, and the path to the overlord lair lay open. Let's move, Jack ordered, leading the charge towards the ominous entrance. The team followed, their resolve steeled for the confrontation ahead. They advanced into the lair, the atmosphere growing even more oppressive. The air was thick with a dark, foreboding energy, and the walls seemed to pulse with a life of their own. Jack could feel the weight of the place pressing down on him, but he pushed forward, driven by the need to end the invasion once and for all. The corridor led to a massive chamber, its ceiling lost in shadows. At the far end of the chamber stood the Overlord, a towering monstrosity that radiated malevolence. Its form was a grotesque amalgamation of organic and mechanical elements, its eyes glowing with a cold, predatory intelligence. Jack felt a chill run down his spine as he faced the creature. This was the source of their suffering, the being that had orchestrated the invasion. He tightened his grip on his weapon, his resolve hardening. "We end this now," Jack said, his voice steady despite the fear gnawing at his gut. The Overlord let out a roar, the sound reverberating through the chamber. It raised one of its massive limbs, and the air crackled with energy. The team spread out, preparing for the battle to come. Marcus and Rafe took up positions on either side of the chamber, their weapons trained on the Overlord. Maya moved to the center, her eyes locked on the creature. Jack and Elena stayed close, ready to support their teammates. The Overlord struck first, unleashing a barrage of energy bolts that scorched the air. The team dodged and returned fire, their weapons flashing in the dim light. The chamber was filled with the sounds of battle, the air thick with smoke and the acrid scent of burning flesh. Jack moved with precision, his shots aimed at the Overlord's vulnerable spots. The creature roared in pain, its eyes blazing with fury. It lashed out with its massive limbs, the ground shaking with each impact. Maya darted forward, her movements swift and graceful. She fired a series of well-placed shots, each one finding its mark. The Overlord snarled and swung its arm, narrowly missing her as she dodged to the side. Rafe and Marcus provided covering fire, their weapons unleashing a relentless barrage. The Overlord staggered under the assault, its form crackling with energy. But it was far from defeated. Elena worked quickly, her device scanning the creature for weaknesses. "There's a core in its chest," she shouted. "We need to target it." Jack nodded, his eyes narrowing. "Focus your fire on the core. We take it down, now." The team adjusted their aim, their shots converging on the Overlord's chest. The creature roared in agony, its form shuddering under the onslaught. But it fought back with a renewed ferocity, its attacks growing more desperate. Jack felt a surge of determination. They were so close. They couldn't afford to falter now. He pushed forward, his weapon blazing as he aimed for the core. The Overlord let out a final, ear-splitting roar, its form collapsing under the relentless assault. The core in its chest shattered, releasing a blinding flash of energy. The creature convulsed, its limbs thrashing wildly before it finally fell still. The chamber fell silent, the air heavy with the aftermath of the battle. Jack lowered his weapon, his breath coming in ragged gasps. They had done it. The Overlord was defeated. But the victory came at a cost. The team gathered, their faces etched with exhaustion and relief. They had faced the heart of darkness and emerged victorious. But they knew the fight wasn't over yet. "We need to get back to the bunker," Jack said, his voice steady despite the exhaustion. "There's still work to be done." The team advanced into the lair, the atmosphere growing even more oppressive. The air was thick with a dark, foreboding energy, and the walls seemed to pulse with a life of their own. Jack could feel the weight of the place pressing down on him, but he pushed forward, driven by the need to end the invasion once and for all. The corridor led to a massive chamber, its ceiling lost in shadows. At the far end of the chamber stood the Overlord, a towering monstrosity that radiated malevolence. Its form was a grotesque amalgamation of organic and mechanical elements, its eyes glowing with a cold, predatory intelligence. Jack felt a chill run down his spine as he faced the creature. This was the source of their suffering, the being that had orchestrated the invasion. He tightened his grip on his weapon, his resolve hardening. "We end this now," Jack said, his voice steady despite the fear gnawing at his gut. The Overlord let out a roar, the sound reverberating through the chamber. It raised one of its massive limbs, and the air crackled with energy. The team spread out, preparing for the battle to come. Marcus and Rafe took up positions on either side of the chamber, their weapons trained on the Overlord. Maya moved to the center, her eyes locked on the creature. Jack and Elena stayed close, ready to support their teammates. The Overlord struck first, unleashing a barrage of energy bolts that scorched the air. The team dodged and returned fire, their weapons flashing in the dim light. The chamber was filled with the sounds of battle, the air thick with smoke and the acrid scent of burning flesh. Jack moved with precision, his shots aimed at the Overlord's vulnerable spots. The creature roared in pain, its eyes blazing with fury. It lashed out with its massive limbs, the ground shaking with each impact. Maya darted forward, her movements swift and graceful. She fired a series of well-placed shots, each one finding its mark. The Overlord snarled and swung its arm, narrowly missing her as she dodged to the side. Rafe and Marcus provided covering fire, their weapons unleashing a relentless barrage. The Overlord staggered under the assault, its form crackling with energy. But it was far from defeated. Elena worked quickly, her device scanning the creature for weaknesses. "There's a core in its chest," she shouted. "We need to target it." Jack nodded, his eyes narrowing. "Focus your fire on the core. We take it down, now." The team adjusted their aim, their shots converging on the Overlord's chest. The creature roared in agony, its form shuddering under the onslaught. But it fought back with a renewed ferocity, its attacks growing more desperate. Jack felt a surge of determination. They were so close. They couldn't afford to falter now. He pushed forward, his weapon blazing as he aimed for the core. The Overlord let out a final, ear-splitting roar, its form collapsing under the relentless assault. The core in its chest shattered, releasing a blinding flash of energy. The creature convulsed, its limbs thrashing wildly before it finally fell still. The chamber fell silent, the air heavy with the aftermath of the battle. Jack lowered his weapon, his breath coming in ragged gasps. They had done it. The Overlord was defeated, but the victory came at a cost. The team gathered, their faces etched with exhaustion and relief. They had faced the heart of darkness and emerged victorious. But they knew the fight wasn't over yet. "We need to get back to the bunker," Jack said, his voice steady despite the exhaustion. "There's still work to be done." The team nodded, their resolve unwavering. They had faced the Overlord and won, but their mission was far from complete. Together, they would rise above. The team made their way back through the tunnels, the weight of their victory beginning to settle in. The Overlord death had sent a shockwave through the invader ranks, and they could feel the change in the atmosphere. The once oppressive energy had begun to dissipate, replaced by a sense of hope. As they navigated the dark, winding passages, Jack's mind raced with thoughts of the final push. The defeat of the Overlord was a major victory, but they needed to capitalize on this moment. The invaders would be disoriented and weakened, making it the perfect time to strike a decisive blow. The tunnels twisted and turned, the oppressive darkness slowly giving way to the faint light of dawn as they approached the surface. Jack's body ached from the battle, but the thought of their next steps kept him moving. He knew they had to act quickly to secure their hard-won advantage. Finally, they emerged into the open air, the city of Nexalis spread out before them. The sky was beginning to lighten with the first hints of dawn, casting a soft glow over the war-torn landscape. The storm had passed, and the clear sky felt like a harbinger of better days to come. The team took a moment to catch their breath, their bodies aching from the exertion. Jack looked at each of his team members, seeing the exhaustion and determination etched into their faces. They had faced incredible odds and emerged victorious, but their journey was far from over. "We did it," Maya said, her voice filled with a mix of exhaustion and triumph. "We actually did it." Jack nodded, a sense of profound relief washing over him. "The generator is destroyed. The invaders' reinforcements will be cut off, and their hold on the city will weaken." Marcus and Rafe joined them, their expressions reflecting the same sense of accomplishment. "We need to get back to the bunker and plan our next move," Marcus said. "This is a major victory, but the fight isn't over." As they made their way back to the bunker, the full weight of their achievement began to sink in. They had struck a decisive blow against the invaders, disrupting their control and paving the way for the final assault. Back at the bunker, the community greeted them with cheers and tears of joy. The news of the Overlord defeat spread quickly, lifting the spirits of everyone. Jack addressed the gathered crowd, his voice filled with hope and determination. "We've defeated the Overlord and dealt a significant blow to the invaders. But our fight isn't over yet. We must stay vigilant and prepare for the final push. Together, we will reclaim our world." The room erupted in applause, the unity and resolve of the community stronger than ever. As the celebration continued, Jack found a moment of quiet reflection. He stood on the balcony overlooking the central chamber, watching the scene below. The sense of unity and hope that filled the air was a powerful reminder of what they were fighting for. Maya joined him, her expression filled with pride and determination. "We did it, Jack. We've set the stage for the endgame." Jack nodded, his gaze focused on the bustling activity below. "We have. Together, we'll find a way to win." As the night deepened, Jack felt a renewed sense of purpose. They had faced numerous challenges and continued to adapt and overcome. The road ahead would be difficult, but they were ready to face whatever came next. In the days that followed, the community worked tirelessly to fortify their defenses and prepare for the final assault. The defeat of the Overlord had weakened the invaders, but they knew the enemy would not give up easily. They needed to be ready for anything. Jack and his team trained relentlessly, honing their skills and planning their strategies. They knew the final battle would be the toughest yet, but they were determined to see it through. The future of Nexalis depended on their success. As they prepared for the final strike, Jack felt a sense of calm determination settle over him. They had come so far, faced so many challenges, and emerged stronger each time. Together, they would reclaim their world. The day of the final assault dawned clear and bright. The community gathered, their faces filled with resolve and determination. Jack stood before them, his heart swelling with pride. "This is it," Jack said, his voice steady. "The final battle. We fight for our home, for our future. Together, we will rise above." As the team made their way back through the tunnels, the weight of their victory began to settle in. The Overlord death had sent a shockwave through the invader ranks, and they could feel the change in the atmosphere. The once oppressive energy had begun to dissipate, replaced by a sense of hope. They emerged into the open air, the city of Nexalis bathed in the first light of dawn. The storm had passed, and the sky was clear, a stark contrast to the darkness they had faced in the lair. The sight filled them with a renewed sense of purpose. Back at the bunker, the community greeted them with cheers and tears of joy. The news of the Overlord defeat spread quickly, lifting the spirits of everyone. Jack addressed the gathered crowd, his voice filled with hope and determination. We've defeated the Overlord and dealt a significant blow to the invaders. But our fight isn't over yet. We must stay vigilant and prepare for the final push. Together, we will reclaim our world. The room erupted in applause, the unity and resolve of the community stronger than ever. As the celebration continued, Jack found a moment of quiet reflection. He stood on the balcony overlooking the central chamber, watching the scene below. The sense of unity and hope that filled the air was a powerful reminder of what they were fighting for. Maya joined him, her expression filled with pride and determination. We did it, Jack. We've set the stage for the endgame. Jack nodded, his gaze focused on the bustling activity below. We have. Together, we'll find a way to win. As the night deepened, Jack felt a renewed sense of purpose. They had faced numerous challenges and continued to adapt and overcome. The road ahead would be difficult, but they were ready to face whatever came next. In the days that followed, the community worked tirelessly to fortify their defenses and prepare for the final assault. The defeat of the Overlord had weakened the invaders, but they knew the enemy would not give up easily. They needed to be ready for anything. Jack and his team trained relentlessly, honing their skills and planning their strategies. They knew the final battle would be the toughest yet, but they were determined to see it through. The future of Nexalis depended on their success. The night before the final assault, Jack stood before his team in the war room, the atmosphere charged with anticipation. Maps and tactical plans covered the table, illuminated by the flickering light of lanterns. This is it, Jack said, his voice steady. The final battle. We fight for our home, for our future. Together, we will rise above. His words resonated deeply with everyone. Each member of the team felt the weight of their mission, but also the strength of their unity. They had come too far and faced too much to turn back now. The day of the final assault dawned clear and bright. The community gathered, their faces filled with resolve and determination. Jack stood before them, his heart swelling with pride. We've faced darkness and emerged stronger. Now, we take the final step to reclaim our world. Stay strong, stay united, and fight with everything you have. The community erupted in cheers, their unity and resolve stronger than ever. As they moved out, Jack felt a surge of hope. They had faced the heart of darkness and emerged victorious. Now, they would reclaim their world and build a brighter future. The journey to the invaders' final stronghold was marked by a palpable sense of determination. The city of Nexalis, bathed in the early morning light, felt different, more alive, more hopeful. The people moved with purpose, their spirits lifted by the recent victories. Jack led the charge, his mind focused on the task ahead. The final stronghold loomed on the horizon, a dark, imposing structure that pulsed with the last vestiges of the invaders' power. It was a fortress of despair, but Jack saw it as a symbol of their impending victory. As they approached, the air grew tense. The invaders had fortified their last bastion with everything they had left. The battle that awaited them would be fierce, but Jack knew they were ready. They had trained for this, prepared for this, and now they would finish it. Remember the plan, Jack said, his voice cutting through the tension. We strike fast and hard. Focus on the key points, and don't let up. This is our moment. The team nodded, their faces set with determination. They moved into position, the final battle about to begin. The assault started with a deafening roar as the community's forces launched their attack. Explosions rocked the fortress, sending debris flying. The invaders, caught off guard by the ferocity of the assault, scrambled to mount a defense. Jack led his team through the chaos, their movements precise and coordinated. They fought their way through the outer defenses, their weapons cutting down any invaders that stood in their way. The air was thick with smoke and the acrid scent of burning metal, but they pressed on, driven by the need to end the invasion once and for all. As they reached the inner sanctum of the fortress, the resistance grew fiercer. The invaders fought with a desperate fury, their ranks bolstered by the remaining elite guards. The battle raged on, each side fighting with everything they had. Jack's team advanced through the corridors, their progress marked by the sounds of gunfire and the occasional explosion. They reached a large chamber, the heart of the fortress, where the final rift generator stood. It was a towering structure, pulsating with dark energy, the source of the invaders' power. Take it down, Jack shouted, his voice echoing through the chamber. This is our chance. Elena moved to the control panel, her fingers flying over the controls. Cover me. I need a few minutes to set the charges. Jack, Maya, Marcus, and Rafe formed a defensive perimeter, their weapons blazing as they fought off wave after wave of invaders. The battle was intense, the air thick with the sounds of conflict and the acrid smell of burning flesh. Elena worked frantically, her face set with determination. Almost there, she shouted over the noise. Just a few more seconds. Jack felt a surge of determination. They were so close. They couldn't afford to falter now. He fought with everything he had, his focus unwavering. Finally, Elena shouted, "It's done. The charges are set. We need to get out of here. Fall back," Jack ordered, his voice cutting through the chaos. Everyone, move. The team retreated, their movements coordinated and efficient. They made their way out of the chamber, the sounds of explosions following them as the charges detonated. The ground shook beneath their feet, the fortress beginning to crumble. They emerged into the open air, the final stronghold of the invaders collapsing behind them. The sky was clear, the first light of dawn casting a golden hue over the city of Nexalis. The battle was over. They had won. The community erupted in cheers, their victory a testament to their unity and resolve. Jack stood before them, his heart swelling with pride and relief. "We did it," he said, his voice filled with emotion. "We reclaimed our world. Together, we rose above." Chapter 25, The Sacrifice. Part 1, The First Blow. The euphoria of their recent victory was short-lived. Although the Overlord had been grievously wounded, it had retreated into the depths of its lair, licking its wounds and preparing for a final stand. The team knew they had no choice but to press on and deliver the final blow. The dark corridors of the fortress loomed before them, foreboding and oppressive, echoing with the distant roars of the wounded Overlord. Jack led the team deeper into the labyrinthine passages. The oppressive atmosphere seemed to close in on them, each step heavy with the weight of their mission. The walls seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy, and every shadow hid potential danger. The air grew thicker, harder to breathe, as they approached the heart of the stronghold. "This is it," Jack whispered, his voice barely audible over the distant, echoing sounds of the Overlord agony. "Stay sharp and stay together. We end this now." Maya, Rafe, Marcus, and Elena nodded, their faces set with grim determination. Their weapons were at the ready, and their movements were cautious, every sense heightened by the imminent danger. The corridor opened into a vast chamber. The walls were lined with dark, pulsating conduits, each one throbbing with the same ominous energy that permeated the fortress. At the center of the chamber, bathed in a sickly, otherworldly light, stood the Overlord. It was a monstrous amalgamation of organic and mechanical parts, its body marred by burns and deep gashes from their previous battle, but its eyes still burned with a fierce, unrelenting hatred. Jack's heart pounded as he took in the sight of the Overlord. This was the source of their suffering, the architect of the invasion that had torn their world apart. He tightened his grip on his weapon, his resolve hardening. "We take it down together," Jack commanded, his voice firm. "Spread out and surround it." The team moved into position, their movements precise and coordinated. The Overlord let out a deafening roar, raising one of its massive limbs. The air crackled with energy as it prepared to strike. The ground shook with each movement, sending shockwaves through the chamber. Jack opened fire, aiming for the vulnerable spots they had identified earlier. Maya and Marcus flanked the creature, their shots targeting its limbs to slow its movements. Rafe provided covering fire, his sharp eyes scanning for any openings. Elena stayed close to Jack, her device analyzing the creature for any exploitable weaknesses. The battle was fierce and chaotic. The chamber echoed with the sounds of gunfire and the Overlord enraged roars. The acrid smell of burning flesh and the metallic tang of blood filled the air. The creature fought with a desperate fury, its attacks growing more erratic as it struggled to fend off the relentless assault. Suddenly, the Overlord let out a furious roar, its eyes locking onto Elena. With a swift, brutal movement, it lashed out, striking her with a powerful blow. Elena was thrown across the chamber, her body slamming into the wall with a sickening thud. "Elena!" Jack shouted, his heart racing with fear and anger. He ran to her side, his mind racing. She was badly injured, her breathing shallow and labored. "We need to get her out of here," Jack said urgently. "Maya, help me." Maya rushed to Jack's side, her face pale with worry. Together, they lifted Elena, carefully carrying her to a safer position. The battle raged on around them, the team fighting desperately to keep the Overlord at bay. "We can't keep this up," Marcus shouted, his voice strained. "We need to end this, now." Jack's mind raced, searching for a solution. They were running out of time, and Elena's condition was worsening by the second. He looked at the Overlord, its form still towering and menacing despite its wounds. They needed a plan, and they needed it fast. Suddenly, Elena's voice broke through the chaos, weak but determined. "Jack, listen, there's a way." Jack knelt beside her, his heart heavy with worry. "What is it, Elena? What do we need to do?" Elena's eyes were filled with pain, but also with a fierce resolve. "The core, it's vulnerable now, but you need to get close, very close." Jack nodded, understanding what she was saying. It was a suicide mission, but it was their only chance. "All right, we'll do it, but we need to buy some time." Jack stood up, his face set with determination. He turned to his team, their eyes filled with the same resolve. "We need to get close to the core and take it out. But we need to keep the Overlord distracted. Rafe, Marcus, Maya, keep it busy. I'll go in." Maya's eyes widened in concern. "Jack, it's too dangerous. You won't make it." "I have to try," Jack said firmly. "It's the only way. We don't have any other options." Rafe and Marcus nodded, their faces grim. They knew the risks, but they also knew what was at stake. "We'll cover you, Jack. Just make it count." The team sprang into action, their movements coordinated and precise. Rafe and Marcus unleashed a relentless barrage of gunfire, drawing the Overlord attention and keeping it occupied. Maya moved with agility and speed, her shots targeting the creature's limbs to slow its movements. Jack took a deep breath, his mind focused on the task ahead. He moved quickly, using the chaos of the battle to his advantage. The ground shook with each of the Overlord movements, but he pressed on, driven by the need to end the threat once and for all. He reached the base of the creature, the core glowing with a dark, pulsating energy. He could feel the heat radiating from it, the power coursing through it. It was a dangerous and unstable force, but it was their only chance. "Elena, I'm in position," Jack shouted, his voice barely audible over the din of the battle. "What do I need to do?" Elena's voice came through the comms, weak but clear. "You need to overload the core. It will cause a chain reaction, but you need to be quick, it will be unstable." Jack nodded, his heart pounding. He set to work, his hands moving quickly as he connected the charges to the core. The heat was intense, the power almost overwhelming, but he pressed on, driven by the need to save his team and his world. Suddenly, the ground shook violently, the Overlord letting out a furious roar. Jack looked up, his eyes widening in horror. The creature had realized what he was doing, its eyes blazing with a fierce, desperate rage. "Jack, hurry!" Maya shouted, her voice filled with fear and urgency. "It's coming for you." Jack's hands moved faster, his mind racing. He could feel the heat intensifying, the power building to a dangerous level. He was almost there, just a few more seconds. The Overlord lashed out, its massive limb descending with terrifying speed. Jack braced himself, his heart pounding. He was out of time. Suddenly, a figure darted in front of him, their movements swift and precise. It was Marcus. He tackled Jack out of the way, the Overlord limb smashing into the ground where Jack had been standing moments before. "Marcus!" Jack shouted, his voice filled with shock and fear. "What are you doing?" Marcus looked at him, his eyes filled with determination. "Finishing this. You know what to do. Go." Jack's heart ached, but he knew what he had to do. He moved quickly, connecting the final charge. The core began to glow brighter, the power building to a critical level. "Get out of there, Marcus!" Jack shouted, his voice filled with desperation. Marcus shook his head, his face set with resolve. "There's no time. Finish it, Jack. For all of us." Jack's heart broke, but he knew Marcus was right. He activated the charges, the core beginning to overload. He turned and ran, his heart heavy with grief and determination. The ground shook violently, the air filled with the sound of the core's unstable power. Jack could feel the heat behind him, the power building to a critical level. He pushed himself harder, running with everything he had. Suddenly, a massive explosion rocked the chamber, the force of the blast sending shockwaves through the air. Jack was thrown forward, his body slamming into the ground. The world went dark, the sounds of the battle fading into silence. As the night deepened, Jack felt a renewed sense of purpose. They had faced numerous challenges and continued to adapt and overcome. The road ahead would be difficult, but they were ready to face whatever came next. Together, they would rise above. The following days were a blur of activity. The community rallied together, working tirelessly to repair the damage and rebuild their city. Jack and his team were at the forefront of these efforts, their determination to honor Marcus's sacrifice driving them forward. Elena's injuries were severe, but she made a steady recovery. Her spirit was unbroken, and she threw herself into the work of rebuilding with a fierce determination. Rafe's leg was set, and though he would walk with a limp for a while, his humor and resilience remained intact. Maya, always a pillar of strength, kept the team focused and motivated. One evening, as the sun set over the city, Jack gathered his team in a quiet corner of the bunker. The weight of their recent experiences hung heavy in the air, but so did a sense of camaraderie and shared purpose. "We've been through hell," Jack said, his voice steady. "But we've come out stronger. We've faced the worst this world has thrown at us, and we've survived. Now, we need to rebuild, not just our city, but our lives. We owe it to Marcus, and to everyone we've lost." Maya nodded, her eyes bright with determination. "We've proven that we're stronger together. We'll rebuild, and we'll make sure this never happens again." Rafe, leaning on his crutch, added, "We've faced down monsters and emerged victorious. There's nothing we can't handle." Elena, her voice soft but firm, said, "We have the knowledge and the strength to make this world better. Let's make sure Marcus's sacrifice wasn't in vain." Jack looked at his team, feeling a deep sense of pride and gratitude. They had faced unimaginable horrors and emerged stronger, their bonds forged in the fires of adversity. Together, they would rebuild their world and create a brighter future. As the days turned into weeks, the city of Nexalis began to take shape once more. The scars of battle were still visible, but so was the resilience and determination of its people. New structures rose from the ruins, and the once oppressive atmosphere was replaced with a sense of hope and renewal. Jack and his team worked tirelessly, their efforts inspiring others to join in the rebuilding process. The community grew closer, united by their shared experiences and their collective determination to create a better future. One day, as Jack stood on a newly constructed platform overlooking the city, he felt a sense of peace wash over him. The city was alive with activity, the sounds of construction and laughter filling the air. It was a testament to their resilience, a symbol of their unbreakable spirit. Maya joined him, her eyes scanning the bustling streets below. "We've come a long way, Jack. We've rebuilt our city, and we've rebuilt our lives. Jack nodded, his heart swelling with pride. We have. And we'll keep moving forward. Together. Chapter 26, The Collapse. Part 1. The First Signs. The fortress was still reverberating with the aftermath of the battle when the first tremors began. Jack, Maya, Rafe, and Elena were catching their breath, their faces etched with exhaustion and relief, when the ground beneath them shuddered violently. Dust and small debris rained down from the ceiling, and the walls seemed to vibrate with an ominous energy. Elena, what's happening? Jack asked, his voice tense with concern. Elena quickly checked her device, her face paling as she read the data. The rift generator, she said, her voice filled with alarm. The core's destruction has destabilized the entire structure. The fortress is starting to collapse. Jack's heart sank. They had won the battle, but now they faced a new, immediate danger. We need to get out of here. Now. The team sprang into action, their fatigue forgotten in the face of this new threat. The ground continued to shake, the tremors growing more violent with each passing second. The fortress, once a symbol of the invaders' power, was now a death trap. Elena led the way, her device guiding them through the labyrinthine corridors. This way, she shouted, her voice barely audible over the growing rumble. The exit is this way. The team followed her, their movements swift and coordinated despite the chaos. Every step was a race against time, the walls around them cracking and groaning as the structure began to give way. The air was thick with dust, making it difficult to see and breathe, but they pushed on, driven by the primal instinct to survive. As they rounded a corner, a massive tremor shook the ground, sending a section of the ceiling crashing down in front of them. They barely managed to stop in time, the debris blocking their path. Jack's mind raced as he assessed the situation. Backtrack, find another way, Jack ordered, his voice filled with urgency. Elena quickly consulted her device, her fingers moving swiftly over the screen. There's another route, but it's longer. We need to move fast. The team turned and sprinted down a side passage, the ground shaking violently beneath their feet. The sound of the collapsing fortress was deafening, a constant reminder of the peril they faced. Jack could feel the pressure building, the air thick with the promise of imminent collapse. Stay close and keep moving, Jack shouted, his voice barely carrying over the noise. We don't have much time. The passages twisted and turned, each corner revealing new dangers. The ground continued to shake, sending cracked spider webbing across the floors and walls. The sound of the fortress collapsing around them was deafening, a constant reminder of the urgency of their situation. As they ran, Jack's mind raced with thoughts of their next steps. The fortress was vast and complex, and the route back to the surface was fraught with danger. They needed to move quickly and efficiently to avoid being trapped in the implosion. Elena led them through the treacherous corridors, her device their only guide in the darkened maze. The rumbling grew louder, the walls vibrating with a terrifying intensity. Jack could feel the pressure building, the air thick with the promise of imminent collapse. Keep moving, Jack urged, his voice filled with urgency. We can make it. The team pushed on, their bodies aching but their resolve unwavering. They could see the faint light of the surface ahead, a beacon of hope in the darkness. The ground shook more violently, the walls closing in around them. As they reached the final stretch, a massive tremor shook the fortress, the walls and ceiling collapsing in a cacophony of destruction. The exit was just ahead, but the path was blocked by debris. Jack's heart raced as he realized they were running out of time. Rafe, Maya, help me clear the way, Jack shouted, his voice filled with desperation. Together, they worked to clear the debris, their movements frantic but coordinated. The ground continued to shake, the fortress on the verge of complete collapse. Every second counted, and they knew they had to move quickly. Finally, they managed to clear a path, the exit just within reach. The team pushed forward, their hearts pounding with a mix of fear and determination. They could feel the ground giving way beneath them, the fortress collapsing around them. Go, 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 Jack shouted, his voice filled with urgency. The team surged towards the exit, their movements swift and desperate. They could see the light of the surface, a beacon of hope in the darkness. The ground shook violently, the fortress imploding behind them. With one final burst of energy, they leapt through the exit, the sound of the collapsing fortress echoing in their ears. They tumbled onto the surface, their bodies aching and their breaths ragged. The fortress behind them crumbled, a cloud of dust and debris rising into the sky. Lying on the ground, Jack took a moment to catch his breath, his mind reeling from the near-death experience. He looked around at his team, relieved to see that they had all made it out alive. Despite the exhaustion etched on their faces, there was a shared sense of triumph and survival. We made it, Maya said, her voice filled with a mix of disbelief and relief. We actually made it, Jack nodded, his heart swelling with pride and gratitude. We did, thanks to all of you. As they lay there, catching their breath and processing the enormity of what they had just escaped, the first rays of dawn broke over the horizon. The warm light bathed the city of Nexalis, casting long shadows over the ruins and filling the team with a renewed sense of hope. We need to get back to the bunker and regroup, Jack said, his voice steady despite the fatigue. There's still work to be done. The team lay on the ground, gasping for breath as the dust began to settle. The once mighty fortress was now a pile of rubble, its dark, oppressive presence reduced to nothing more than a memory. Jack struggled to his feet, his body aching from the exertion. "Is everyone okay?" Jack called out, his voice hoarse. One by one, the team members rose, each of them covered in dust and debris but miraculously unharmed. Maya coughed, wiping the grime from her face. "I think so," she replied, her voice shaky but strong. Rafe winced as he stood, his injured leg throbbing. "That was too close," he muttered, his usual humor subdued by the seriousness of their escape. Elena, though pale and exhausted, managed a weak smile. "We made it," she said, her eyes bright with relief. "We actually made it." Jack nodded, his heart swelling with pride and gratitude. "We did, thanks to all of you." As they stood there, taking in the sight of the collapsed fortress, Jack couldn't help but feel a profound sense of loss. Marcus's sacrifice had made their victory possible, but now they faced a new challenge. They had to survive, not just for themselves, but for Marcus and the future he had fought to protect. The ground continued to tremble slightly, the aftershocks of the implosion reminding them of the fragile state of the rift. Jack knew they needed to put as much distance between themselves and the collapse site as possible. "Let's move," Jack said, his voice firm. "We need to get back to the bunker and regroup. There's still work to be done." The team nodded in agreement, their determination unwavering. They began the journey back to the bunker, their steps steady despite the lingering fear and exhaustion. The path was treacherous, the ground uneven and unstable, but they pressed on, driven by the need to survive and rebuild. As they navigated the ruins of the fortress, Jack's mind raced with thoughts of their next steps. The collapse of the rift generator had weakened the invaders' hold on their world, but the threat was far from over. They needed to secure their position and prepare for any remaining enemies. "We need to assess the damage and make sure the rift is fully closed," Jack said, addressing his team. "Elena, can you monitor the rift status?" Elena nodded, her device already scanning the area. "I'm on it. We'll know more once we're back at the bunker." Maya, ever the strategist, added, "We should also fortify our defenses and make sure the community is safe. The invaders may still have forces out there." Rafe, his humor returning, grinned. "And maybe we can finally get a decent meal and some rest. We've earned it." The team chuckled, the brief moment of levity a welcome relief from the tension of their escape. Despite the challenges ahead, they were united in their determination to rebuild and protect their world. The journey back to the bunker was filled with obstacles. The once familiar paths were now treacherous with fallen debris and unstable ground. The air was heavy with dust, and the occasional aftershock sent new cascades of rubble tumbling down. But Jack and his team pressed on, their resolve unwavering. They moved through the ruins with caution, their senses heightened by the knowledge that danger could strike at any moment. The city of Nexalis, though damaged, stood as a testament to their resilience. The people had begun to emerge from their shelters, cautiously optimistic in the wake of the fortress's collapse. As they reached the outskirts of the city, the familiar sight of the bunker brought a sense of relief. The fortified structure had withstood the chaos, a beacon of hope amidst the destruction. The community, having heard the news of the team's return, gathered to welcome them back. Jack, Maya, Rafe, Elena, the cries of their names echoed through the crowd as people rushed forward to welcome them. The air was filled with a mix of cheers and tears, the community united by their shared experiences and the promise of a brighter future. Jack addressed the gathered crowd, his voice filled with determination and resolve. "The rift generator is destroyed, and the Overlord is defeated. But our work isn't over. We need to rebuild, to fortify our defenses, and to ensure that our world is safe from any future threats. Together, we can do this. Together, we will rise above." The crowd erupted in applause, their unity and resolve stronger than ever. As the celebration continued, Jack found a moment of quiet reflection. He stood on the balcony overlooking the central chamber, the weight of their victory and their loss pressing down on him. Maya joined him, her expression filled with pride and determination. "We did it, Jack. We won." Jack nodded, his gaze focused on the bustling activity below. "We did, but we need to make sure it was worth it. We need to rebuild and create a better future." As the night deepened, Jack felt a renewed sense of purpose. They had faced numerous challenges and continued to adapt and overcome. The road ahead would be difficult, but they were ready to face whatever came next. The following days were a blur of activity. The community rallied together, working tirelessly to repair the damage and rebuild their city. Jack and his team were at the forefront of these efforts, their determination to honor Marcus's sacrifice driving them forward. Elena's injuries were severe, but she made a steady recovery. Her spirit was unbroken, and she threw herself into the work of rebuilding with a fierce determination. Rafe's leg was set, and though he would walk with a limp for a while, his humor and resilience remained intact. Maya, always a pillar of strength, kept the team focused and motivated. One evening, as the sun set over the city, Jack gathered his team in a quiet corner of the bunker. The weight of their recent experiences hung heavy in the air, but so did a sense of camaraderie and shared purpose. "We've been through hell," Jack said, his voice steady. "But we've come out stronger. We've faced the worst this world has thrown at us, and we've survived. Now, we need to rebuild, not just our city, but our lives." We owe it to Marcus and to everyone we've lost. Maya nodded, her eyes bright with determination. We've proven that we're stronger together. We'll rebuild, and we'll make sure this never happens again. Rafe, leaning on his crutch, added, we've faced down monsters and emerged victorious. There's nothing we can't handle. Elena, her voice soft but firm, said, we have the knowledge and the strength to make this world better. Let's make sure Marcus's sacrifice wasn't in vain. Jack looked at his team, feeling a deep sense of pride and gratitude. They had faced unimaginable horrors and emerged stronger, their bonds forged in the fires of adversity. Together, they would rebuild their world and create a brighter future. As the days turned into weeks, the city of Nexalis began to take shape once more. The scars of battle were still visible, but so was the resilience and determination of its people. New structures rose from the ruins, and the once oppressive atmosphere was replaced with a sense of hope and renewal. Jack and his team worked tirelessly, their efforts inspiring others to join in the rebuilding process. The community grew closer, united by their shared experiences and their collective determination to create a better future. One day, as Jack stood on a newly constructed platform overlooking the city, he felt a sense of peace wash over him. The city was alive with activity, the sounds of construction and laughter filling the air. It was a testament to their resilience, a symbol of their unbreakable spirit. Maya joined him, her eyes scanning the bustling streets below. We've come a long way, Jack. We've rebuilt our city, and we've rebuilt our lives. Jack nodded, his heart swelling with pride. We have, and we'll keep moving forward. Together. Chapter 27, The Aftermath. The rift had collapsed, marking the end of the invasion that had terrorized Nexalis for so long. As the dust settled and the ground ceased its trembling, a profound silence enveloped the city. For the first time in months, the air was free of the oppressive hum of the rift generator. The sun broke through the clouds, casting a golden light over the devastated landscape, a symbol of hope and renewal. Jack and his team stood amidst the ruins, their bodies aching and covered in grime, but their spirits soaring with the realization of their victory. The ground where the rift had once pulsed with dark energy was now a smoldering crater, the remnants of the invaders' power dissipating into the ether. We did it, Maya whispered, her voice trembling with a mix of exhaustion and triumph. The rift is gone. It's really over. Jack nodded, his gaze sweeping over the battlefield. It's over, he said, his voice steady. We've taken back our city. The surviving members of the community began to emerge from their shelters, their faces reflecting a mixture of disbelief and relief. Slowly, they made their way to the central square, where Jack and his team stood. The square, once a bustling hub of activity, was now a scene of devastation, but it was also the birthplace of their new beginning. Elena, still weak but determined, used her device to scan the area. The readings are clear, she announced. No more rift activity. We're safe. A cheer rose from the gathered crowd, a sound that grew in intensity until it echoed through the streets of Nexalis. The people, weary and worn, hugged each other, tears streaming down their faces. They had survived the unimaginable, and now they stood together, ready to rebuild. Rafe, leaning on his crutch, grinned at Jack. Looks like we've got a lot of work ahead of us, he said, his voice tinged with humor despite the gravity of their situation. Jack smiled back, feeling a sense of camaraderie and pride. We do, he agreed. But we're up to the challenge. The crowd began to disperse, people moving with a renewed sense of purpose. They had a city to rebuild, and the first step was to clear the rubble and create a safe environment for everyone. Jack and his team joined in the efforts, their exhaustion momentarily forgotten as they worked side by side with their fellow survivors. As the cleanup began, the extent of the destruction became clear. Buildings lay in ruins, streets were clogged with debris, and the once vibrant heart of the city was now a landscape of rubble and dust. But amidst the devastation, there was also a sense of hope. The people of Nexalis had faced the worst and survived, and now they were determined to rebuild. Jack found himself directing groups of survivors, assigning tasks and coordinating the efforts to clear the debris. Maya worked alongside him, her strategic mind invaluable in organizing the various teams. Rafe's humor and resilience kept spirits high, while Elena's technical expertise ensured that the most critical systems were restored quickly. Elena, how's the power grid looking? Jack asked, his voice carrying over the clamor of the workers. It's in bad shape, Elena replied, her eyes scanning her tablet. But I think we can get the main lines up and running within a few days. We just need to prioritize the critical areas. Good, Jack said, nodding. Let's focus on the hospital and the shelters first. We need to make sure everyone has a safe place to stay and access to medical care. As the day wore on, the team's efforts began to pay off. The main thoroughfares were cleared, and temporary shelters were set up for those who had lost their homes. The hospital's power was restored, and doctors and nurses worked tirelessly to tend to the injured. That evening, as the sun set over the city, casting a warm, golden glow over the ruins, Jack took a moment to reflect. He stood on a makeshift platform overlooking the central square, watching as people moved about, their faces lit with determination and hope. The sight filled him with a deep sense of pride. We've come a long way, he said softly to Maya, who stood beside him. But there's still so much to do. Maya nodded, her gaze fixed on the bustling activity below. We'll get there, Jack. One step at a time. Together. Jack smiled, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. They had faced unimaginable horrors and emerged stronger. They had honored Marcus's sacrifice and the sacrifices of so many others. Now, it was time to rebuild and create a future worthy of their struggles. As night fell, the city of Nexalis glowed with the light of countless fires and lanterns. People gathered around makeshift tables, sharing food and stories, their laughter echoing through the streets. The bonds forged in the crucible of conflict were strong, and they would carry the community through the challenges ahead. Jack and his team joined one of the gatherings, their presence a source of inspiration for the others. They sat together, sharing a meal and reflecting on their journey. The conversations were filled with memories of the battles they had fought, the friends they had lost, and the dreams they still held for the future. We've been through hell, Rafe said, his voice quiet but filled with conviction. But we've come out stronger. We've proven that we can face anything, as long as we stand together. Elena nodded, her eyes bright with determination. We have the knowledge and the skills to rebuild our city, to make it better than before. We owe it to everyone who sacrificed their lives to give us this chance. Maya raised her glass, a small smile playing on her lips. To Marcus and to everyone who fought and fell, we will honor their memory by building a future they would be proud of. To Marcus, the group echoed, their voices filled with emotion. The days that followed were filled with hard work and determination. The people of Nexalis, united by their shared ordeal, worked tirelessly to clear the wreckage and rebuild their city. Jack and his team were at the forefront of these efforts, their leadership and resolve inspiring others to join in the monumental task. Jack found himself directing groups of survivors, assigning tasks and coordinating the rebuilding process. Maya worked alongside him, her strategic mind invaluable in organizing the various efforts. Rafe's humor and resilience kept spirits high, while Alina's technical expertise ensured that the most critical systems were restored quickly. As they cleared the rubble and repaired the damaged infrastructure, the city of Nexalis began to take shape once more. New structures rose from the ruins, each one a testament to the resilience and determination of its people. The scars of battle were still visible, but they served as a reminder of what they had overcome and the strength they had found in each other. One evening, as the sun set over the city, Jack stood on a newly constructed platform overlooking the central square. The sight before him filled him with a deep sense of pride and hope. The city was alive with activity, the sounds of construction and laughter filling the air. It was a testament to their resilience, a symbol of their unbreakable spirit. Maya joined him, her eyes scanning the bustling streets below. We've come a long way, Jack, she said, her voice filled with pride. We've rebuilt our city, and we've rebuilt our lives. Jack nodded, his heart swelling with emotion. We have, and we'll keep moving forward. Together. As they stood there, side by side, the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, casting a serene glow over the city. The sense of peace and unity that filled the air was a powerful reminder of what they had fought for and what they had achieved. The community continued to work together, their bonds growing stronger with each passing day. They shared stories of their experiences, celebrating their victories and mourning their losses. The memory of those who had fallen, like Marcus, was honored in every brick laid and every wall raised. Their sacrifices had paved the way for a brighter future, and the people of Nexalis were determined to make it a reality. During the day, the central square was a hive of activity. People worked together to clear the rubble, sort through the debris, and salvage what they could. Teams of engineers and builders, led by Elena, meticulously planned and executed the reconstruction of vital infrastructure. Maya's strategic mind was invaluable in coordinating these efforts, ensuring that resources were allocated efficiently and that everyone had a role to play. Jack, we've cleared the main road, reported one of the survivors, wiping sweat from his brow. What's next? Jack consulted the map spread out on a makeshift table. Great job. Next, we need to focus on restoring the water supply. Elena, can you lead a team to check the main pipelines? Elena nodded, her eyes focused and determined. Absolutely. We'll get it done. As the team dispersed to their tasks, Rafe approached Jack, a grin on his face despite the exhaustion etched into his features. You're a natural at this, Jack. Who knew you had a future in city planning? Jack chuckled, shaking his head. Just doing what needs to be done. We all are. Rafe's grin softened into a serious expression. We're lucky to have you, Jack. Nexalis is lucky. The days turned into weeks, and the progress was undeniable. Buildings that had been reduced to rubble were now being rebuilt, their foundations strong and their walls rising with renewed purpose. The hospital, which had been a priority, was fully operational again, providing much-needed care to the injured and sick. Schools reopened, bringing a sense of normalcy and hope to the children of Nexalis. In the evenings, the central square transformed into a gathering place. People shared meals, stories, and laughter, their spirits buoyed by the camaraderie and the tangible progress they had made. It was during these moments that the true strength of the community was evident. They had faced unimaginable horrors, but they had not been broken. Instead, they had emerged stronger, united by their shared experiences and their determination to rebuild. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Jack found himself standing on the platform once more, looking out over the bustling square. The city was alive with activity, the sounds of construction and laughter filling the air. He felt a profound sense of pride and gratitude for the people who had come together to rebuild their home. Maya joined him, her eyes reflecting the golden light of the setting sun. "We've come so far, Jack," she said softly. "And we're not done yet." Jack nodded, his gaze focused on the future. "No, we're not, but we've shown that we can do this. Together." As they stood there, side by side, the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, casting a serene glow over the city. The sense of peace and unity that filled the air was a powerful reminder of what they had fought for and what they had achieved. The next morning, Jack and his team gathered for their daily briefing. Elena had been up early, poring over plans for the next phase of the reconstruction. Her face lit up with excitement as she presented her ideas to the group. "We've made incredible progress," she began, her voice filled with enthusiasm. "But there's still a lot to do. Today, I want to focus on the communications network. If we can get it up and running, we'll be able to coordinate our efforts more effectively and reach out to other survivor groups." Maya nodded in agreement. "Good idea. Communication is key. Let's make it a priority." Rafe, ever the optimist, grinned. "Sounds like a plan. Let's get to work." As the team dispersed to their tasks, Jack couldn't help but feel a surge of hope. They had faced so many challenges, but they had always found a way to overcome them. With each passing day, they grew stronger, their bonds deepening as they worked together to rebuild their city. Throughout the day, the team worked tirelessly, their efforts focused on restoring the communications network. Elena led a group of engineers, their hands deftly working to repair and reconnect the damaged infrastructure. Jack and Rafe coordinated the efforts on the ground, ensuring that everyone had the support they needed. By evening, they had made significant progress. The main communication lines were restored, and a sense of accomplishment filled the air. As they gathered in the central square, the news spread quickly, and a spontaneous celebration erupted. Jack stood on the platform, looking out at the sea of faces illuminated by the glow of lanterns and fires. The joy and relief on their faces were a testament to their resilience and determination. He raised his hand, calling for silence. "We've come a long way," he began, his voice carrying over the crowd. "And we've done it together. Today, we've taken another step towards rebuilding our city and our lives. This is just the beginning. We will continue to move forward, to build a better future for ourselves and for those who will come after us." Months passed, and the city of Nexalis began to thrive once more. The streets, once filled with rubble and despair, now bustled with activity and hope. Markets reopened, schools were rebuilt, and families moved back into their homes. The air was filled with the sounds of children playing and the laughter of neighbors reconnecting. Jack and his team continued to play a crucial role in the rebuilding efforts. They had become symbols of resilience and leadership, their presence a source of inspiration for the entire community. Jack, now considered the unofficial leader of Nexalis, was constantly approached for guidance and support. One morning, as the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, Jack stood on the balcony of the central command building. He looked out over the city, his heart swelling with pride and gratitude. The journey had been long and arduous, but they had emerged stronger, their bonds unbreakable. Maya joined him, a steaming cup of coffee in her hand. "You should get some rest, Jack," she said, her voice gentle. "You've been working non-stop." Jack smiled, accepting the coffee. "I will," he promised. "But right now, I just want to take this in. We've come so far, Maya. It's hard to believe." Maya nodded, her eyes filled with emotion. "We have, and we'll keep moving forward. Together." As they stood there, watching the sunrise, they were joined by Rafe and Elena. The four of them stood in silence, each lost in their own thoughts, but united by their shared experiences and their commitment to the future of Nexalis. "We've built something incredible here," Elena said, her voice filled with pride. "We've created a community that's stronger than ever." Rafe grinned, his eyes twinkling with humor. "And we've proven that there's nothing we can't handle. Invaders, rifts, collapsing fortresses, bring it on." The group laughed, the sound a testament to their resilience and camaraderie. They had faced unimaginable horrors and emerged victorious, their bonds forged in the fires of adversity. As the sun rose higher in the sky, the city of Nexalis came to life. The people, united by their shared experiences and their determination to create a better future, worked together to build a thriving community. The scars of the past would never fully disappear, but they served as a reminder of the strength and resilience that had brought them to this point. Jack looked at his team, feeling a deep sense of pride and gratitude. They had faced the darkest of times and emerged stronger, their bonds unbreakable. Together, they had honored Marcus's sacrifice and created a brighter future for themselves and for those who would come after. Later that day, a special ceremony was held in the central square to commemorate the rebuilding of Nexalis and to honor those who had given their lives in the fight against the invaders. The entire community gathered, their faces reflecting a mix of sorrow and pride. Jack stood before the crowd, his heart heavy with emotion. He took a deep breath, his voice steady as he began to speak. "Today, we stand here not just as survivors, but as a united community. We have faced unimaginable challenges and have emerged stronger. We have rebuilt our city and our lives, and we have honored the sacrifices of those who fought and fell to give us this chance. He paused, his gaze sweeping over the faces of the people who had become his family. This is a new beginning for Nexalis. Together, we will continue to move forward, to build a future that is bright and filled with hope. We will ensure that the sacrifices of our friends and loved ones were not in vain. The crowd erupted in applause, their unity and resolve stronger than ever. As the ceremony continued, Jack felt a deep sense of peace. They had come so far, and now they stood on the brink of a new era, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. That evening, as the sun set over the city, casting a warm, golden glow over the newly rebuilt structures, Jack found himself on the balcony of the Central Command building once more. The city was alive with activity, the sounds of celebration and laughter filling the air. He felt a profound sense of pride and hope for the future. Maya joined him, her expression filled with pride and determination. "We did it, Jack. We've rebuilt our city and our lives." Jack nodded, his heart swelling with emotion. "We have, and we'll keep moving forward. Together." As the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, casting a serene glow over the city, Jack felt a sense of peace wash over him. They had faced unimaginable horrors and emerged stronger. They had honored Marcus's sacrifice and created a brighter future for themselves and for those who would come after. The city of Nexalis continued to thrive, a testament to the resilience and determination of its people. The scars of the past served as a reminder of their strength, and the new structures that rose from the ruins symbolized hope and renewal. The community, united by their shared experiences, looked to the future with optimism and resolve. One night, as Jack walked through the bustling streets of Nexalis, he was approached by a group of children. Their faces were filled with curiosity and admiration, their eyes wide with wonder as they looked up at him. "Mr. Jack," one of the children said, her voice filled with awe. "Can you tell us a story about the battle?" Jack smiled, his heart warming at the sight of their eager faces. He knelt down, his eyes meeting theirs. "Of course," he said gently. "I'd be happy to." As he began to recount the tales of their battles and the bravery of his friends, the children listened with rapt attention. They asked questions, their curiosity boundless, and Jack answered each one with patience and care. He spoke of courage, sacrifice, and the power of unity, hoping to instill in them the values that had guided him and his team through their darkest days. As the children's parents called them home, Jack stood up, watching as they ran off, their laughter echoing through the streets. He felt a deep sense of fulfillment, knowing that the future of Nexalis was in good hands. Later, Jack returned to the Central Command building, where Maya, Rafe, and Elena were waiting. They had been discussing plans for further improvements to the city, their minds always focused on the future. "How did it go?" Maya asked, her eyes twinkling with curiosity. Jack smiled, his heart full. "It was wonderful. The children are so full of hope and curiosity. They're the future of Nexalis, and it's up to us to ensure they have a bright one." Rafe grinned, his usual humor returning. "Sounds like you've got a new calling, Jack. Storyteller extraordinaire." Elena laughed, her eyes bright with amusement. "I can see it now. Jack Mercer, defender of Nexalis and master storyteller." Jack chuckled, feeling a sense of camaraderie and joy. "We all have our roles to play. And as long as we stand together, there's nothing we can't achieve." Chapter 28, The Vigil. The morning dawned crisp and clear, casting a golden hue over the city of Nexalis. The people were already bustling about, their spirits high and their hearts full of hope. Jack stood on the balcony of the Central Command building, gazing out at the city he had helped to rebuild. The streets were alive with activity, the sounds of construction and laughter blending together in a harmonious symphony of renewal. A messenger arrived, breathless and urgent. "Jack, the council needs to see you. It's important." Jack nodded, his brow furrowing with curiosity. He made his way to the council's chambers, his mind racing with possibilities. The council, formed from the city's most respected leaders, had been instrumental in guiding Nexalis through its darkest days. Their decisions had helped shape the future of the city, and Jack had always respected their wisdom. As he entered the chamber, he was greeted by the solemn faces of the council members. At their head was Elder Thorn, a wise and venerable leader whose eyes reflected a lifetime of experience. "Jack," Elder Thorn began, his voice steady, "we have called you here to discuss a matter of great importance. The collapse of the rift and the defeat of the Overlord were monumental victories, but we must remain vigilant. The threat of future invasions is ever present, and we need a guardian to protect our realm." Jack's heart skipped a beat as he realized the gravity of the situation. "What do you need from me, Elder?" Elder Thorn's eyes met Jack's, filled with both respect and expectation. "Jack, we believe you are the right person for this role. You have proven your leadership, your bravery, and your commitment to our people. We ask you to become the realm guardian, responsible for preventing future invasions and ensuring the safety of Nexalis." The weight of the responsibility settled over Jack like a mantle. He felt the enormity of the task before him, but also the trust and confidence of his people. He took a deep breath, his resolve hardening. "I accept," Jack said, his voice strong and unwavering. "I understand the importance of this role, and I will do everything in my power to protect Nexalis and its people." The council members nodded, their expressions relieved and grateful. Elder Thorne smiled, a rare expression of warmth. Thank you, Jack. We have faith in you. Jack left the chamber with a renewed sense of purpose. He knew the road ahead would be challenging, but he was ready to face it. As he made his way back to his team, he felt a sense of pride and determination. He would protect Nexalis, no matter the cost. Jack returned to the central command building, where his team was gathered. Maya, Rafe, and Elena were waiting for him, their expressions a mix of curiosity and concern. They could tell from Jack's demeanor that something significant had happened. What's going on, Jack? Maya asked, her eyes searching his face. Jack took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the new responsibility settle on his shoulders. The council has asked me to become the Realm Guardian, he said, his voice steady. I'll be responsible for preventing future invasions and ensuring the safety of Nexalis. The room fell silent as the gravity of Jack's words sank in. Maya, ever the strategist, was the first to speak. That's a huge responsibility, Jack. But if anyone can do it, it's you. Rafe nodded, his expression serious. You've led us through some of the darkest times, Jack. We'll support you every step of the way. Elena's eyes were filled with determination. We'll need to set up a monitoring system to detect any signs of new rifts forming. I'll get started on that right away. Jack felt a surge of gratitude for his friends. Their unwavering support gave him the strength to face the challenges ahead. Thank you, he said, his voice filled with emotion. I couldn't do this without you. As the team began to discuss their next steps, the central command building buzzed with activity. Plans were made, tasks were assigned, and the preparations for Jack's new role as Realm Guardian began in earnest. The following days were a blur of meetings, planning sessions, and coordination. Jack worked closely with the council to establish protocols for monitoring and responding to potential threats. Elena and her team set up a network of sensors and surveillance equipment to detect any signs of rift activity. Maya developed a series of defensive strategies to protect the city, while Rafe focused on training a new cadre of warriors. One evening, as the sun set over Nexalis, Jack found himself alone on the balcony of the central command building. The city stretched out before him, its streets bathed in the golden light of dusk. He took a deep breath, feeling the weight of his new responsibilities, but also the strength of his resolve. Maya joined him, her presence a comforting reminder of their shared journey. How are you holding up, Jack? She asked, her voice gentle. Jack smiled, his eyes fixed on the horizon. I'm ready, Maya. This is what we've been working for. To protect what we've built. Maya nodded, her eyes reflecting the same determination. We'll do it together, just like we always have. The following days were filled with preparations for Jack's new role as Realm Guardian. The central command building became a hive of activity, with people coming and going, each contributing to the effort in their own way. Jack's team rallied around him, their support unwavering. Elena was at the forefront, using her technical expertise to set up a sophisticated monitoring system. We'll need to keep an eye on any anomalies, she explained, her fingers flying over the keyboard. If there's even a hint of another rift forming, we'll know about it. Maya, ever the strategist, worked on developing a series of defensive protocols. We need to be ready for anything, she said, her brow furrowed in concentration. I've mapped out potential threat vectors and contingency plans for each. Rafe, despite his usual humor, was deeply serious about the task at hand. He took charge of training a new cadre of warriors, ensuring that they were prepared for any potential threat. We can't let our guard down, he said, his voice firm. We need to be ready to defend our home at a moment's notice. Jack found himself immersed in his new responsibilities, his days filled with planning and coordination. He met with the leaders of neighboring communities, forging alliances and building a network of support. He knew that the safety of Nexalis depended not just on their own strength, but on the strength of their allies as well. One evening, as the sun set over the city, Jack stood on the balcony overlooking the central square. The sight before him was one of both beauty and resilience. The city, once in ruins, was now a vibrant, thriving community. The people of Nexalis had rebuilt their lives, and Jack was determined to protect them. Maya joined him, her presence a comforting reminder of their shared journey. How are you holding up, Jack? She asked, her voice gentle. Jack smiled, his eyes fixed on the horizon. I'm ready, Maya. This is what we've been working for. To protect what we've built. Maya nodded, her eyes reflecting the same determination. We'll do it together, just like we always have. As the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, Jack felt a renewed sense of purpose. He had accepted the role of Realm Guardian, and he would honor that responsibility with everything he had. The future of Nexalis was in his hands, and he was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The next morning, Jack convened a meeting with his team in the central command room. The atmosphere was charged with a mix of anticipation and determination. Elena had brought detailed schematics of the new monitoring system, and Maya had outlined a series of defensive measures that would be implemented immediately. Elena, can you walk us through the new system? Jack asked, his tone focused. Elena nodded, her eyes bright with excitement. Absolutely. We've set up a network of sensors around the perimeter of the city and at key locations within. These sensors will detect any unusual energy signatures that could indicate the formation of a rift. The data is fed into this central hub, where we can monitor everything in real time. She pointed to a large screen that displayed a map of Nexalis, dotted with various indicators representing the sensor network. If anything out of the ordinary happens, we'll know about it instantly. Maya leaned forward, her mind already working through potential scenarios. And what about our response protocols? How quickly can we mobilize if a threat is detected? We've established rapid response teams, Rafe replied, his tone serious. These teams are trained to act immediately, containing any threat before it can escalate. We've also set up communication lines with neighboring communities to coordinate our efforts. Jack nodded, his heart swelling with pride at the thoroughness of their preparations. Excellent work, everyone. We need to be ready for anything. The safety of Nexalis depends on it. The team spent the rest of the day fine-tuning their plans and running simulations to ensure they were prepared for any eventuality. Jack could see the determination in their eyes, the same resolve that had carried them through countless battles and hardships. They were ready to protect their home, no matter the cost. As night fell, Jack found himself alone in the command room, reviewing the day's work. The city outside was quiet, the people of Nexalis sleeping peacefully under the watchful eyes of their guardians. Jack felt a profound sense of responsibility, but also a deep well of strength. He was not alone in this fight, he had his team, and he had the support of the entire community. Suddenly, a soft chime alerted him to an incoming message. It was from one of the neighboring community leaders, expressing their gratitude for Nexalis' efforts to forge alliances and promising their support in the event of any future threats. Jack felt a surge of hope. They were not just rebuilding a city, they were building a network of trust and cooperation that would stand strong against any future invasions. Jack stood up and stretched, feeling the fatigue of the day settle into his muscles. He knew he needed to rest, but his mind was still buzzing with thoughts of the future. He made his way to the balcony, where the cool night air and the twinkling stars provided a moment of respite. As he stood there, lost in thought, he heard the sound of footsteps approaching. He turned to see Elena, Maya, and Rafe joining him, their faces reflecting the same mix of exhaustion and determination. "You should get some rest, Jack," Maya said gently. "We've got a big day ahead tomorrow." Jack smiled, grateful for their concern. "I know, I just needed a moment to take it all in. We've come so far, and there's still so much to do." Elena nodded, her eyes filled with resolve. "We'll be ready. We've faced worse and come out stronger. This is just another challenge, and we'll meet it together." Rafe clapped a hand on Jack's shoulder, his grin returning. "And besides, we've got you leading the charge. There's nothing we can't handle." Jack felt a surge of gratitude for his friends. Their unwavering support gave him the strength to face the challenges ahead. "Thank you," he said, his voice filled with emotion. "I couldn't do this without you." The night of Jack's first official vigil as Realm Guardian arrived. The air was crisp, and the sky was a tapestry of stars, each one a reminder of the vast universe beyond. Jack stood at the highest point of the central command building, his gaze sweeping over the city below. The monitoring system, a testament to Elena's brilliance, glowed softly, its screens displaying real-time data from across the region. Jack's team was with him, each member playing a crucial role in the vigil. Elena monitored the systems, her eyes sharp and focused. Maya reviewed the defensive protocols, her mind constantly working to anticipate and counter potential threats. Rafe, ever the warrior, patrolled the perimeter, his presence a reassuring sight for the people of Nexalis. As the hours passed, the city below began to settle into a peaceful slumber. The sounds of activity quieted, replaced by the gentle hum of nightfall. Jack felt a sense of calm wash over him, the weight of his responsibility balanced by the strength of his resolve. Suddenly, an alert flashed on one of the screens. Elena's fingers danced over the keyboard, her expression intense. "We've got a spike in energy readings," she reported. "It could be nothing, but we need to check it out." Jack nodded, his body tensing with readiness. "Let's investigate. Rafe, stay here and keep watch. Maya, Elena, you're with me." The three of them moved swiftly through the city, their senses heightened. The streets were quiet, the buildings bathed in the soft glow of lanterns. They followed the source of the energy spike, their footsteps echoing in the stillness of the night. They arrived at an old warehouse on the outskirts of the city. The structure was dark and imposing, its windows reflecting the moonlight. Jack signaled for silence, his hand resting on the hilt of his weapon. They moved cautiously, their eyes scanning for any signs of movement. Elena's device beeped softly, confirming the location of the energy spike. "It's coming from inside," she whispered. Jack nodded, his mind focused on the task at hand. "Stay alert. We don't know what we're dealing with." They entered the warehouse, their footsteps echoing in the cavernous space. The air was thick with dust, and the faint smell of decay lingered. As they moved deeper into the building, the source of the energy spike became clear. A small, pulsating rift hovered in the center of the room, its edges crackling with energy. Maya's eyes widened in surprise. "It's a residual rift, smaller than the ones we've seen before, but it still poses a threat." Elena quickly began scanning the rift, her fingers flying over her device. "We need to stabilize it. If it grows, it could open a gateway for another invasion." Jack's mind raced as he formulated a plan. Elena, can you shut it down? Elena nodded, her expression determined. I can, but I'll need time. Do it, Jack said, his voice steady. Maya and I will cover you. As Elena worked, the rift pulsed with increasing intensity. Jack and Maya stood guard, their eyes scanning the room for any signs of danger. The air crackled with energy, and Jack could feel the tension building. Minutes felt like hours as Elena worked to stabilize the rift. Finally, with a triumphant beep, her device indicated success. The rift flickered and then collapsed in on itself, the energy dissipating into the air. It's done, Elena said, her voice filled with relief. The rift is closed. Jack breathed a sigh of relief, his body relaxing. Good work, everyone. Let's get back to the command center. As they made their way back through the city, the first light of dawn began to break over the horizon. The sky was painted in hues of pink and gold, a beautiful contrast to the darkness they had faced. Back at the command center, they were greeted by Rafe, his expression one of both relief and pride. Everything okay? Jack nodded, a smile playing on his lips. We handled it. The rift is closed. Rafe clapped him on the shoulder, his grin wide. That's our guardian. As the sun rose higher in the sky, casting a warm glow over the city of Nexalis, Jack felt a deep sense of fulfillment. He had accepted the role of Realm Guardian, and he had proven that he was ready for the responsibility. With his team by his side, he knew that they could face any challenge that came their way. Later that day, Jack convened a debriefing with his team. They gathered in the central command room, the atmosphere one of focused determination. Elena began the meeting, her voice clear and confident. The rift we encountered last night was small, but it had the potential to grow. We need to stay vigilant and ensure our monitoring systems are fully operational at all times. Maya nodded, her mind already working on improvements. We should refine our response protocols. If another rift appears, we need to be able to mobilize even faster. Rafe leaned back in his chair, his expression serious. We also need to keep training our new recruits. They need to be ready for anything. Jack listened to his team, his heart swelling with pride. They were committed, capable, and ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. I agree with all of you, he said. Let's keep refining our strategies and improving our systems. We can't afford to let our guard down. As the meeting continued, they discussed various scenarios and how to respond to them. Jack could see the dedication in each of his teammates' eyes, and it gave him confidence. They were ready for this, and they would protect Nexalis with everything they had. That evening, as the sun set and the city settled into a peaceful rhythm, Jack took a moment to himself. He stood on the balcony of the command center, looking out over the city he had sworn to protect. The streets were quiet, the buildings bathed in the soft glow of lanterns, and the air was filled with a sense of calm. Maya joined him, her presence a comforting reminder of their shared journey. How are you feeling, Jack? She asked, her voice gentle. Jack smiled, his eyes fixed on the horizon. I'm ready, Maya. This is what we've been working for. To protect what we've built. Maya nodded, her eyes reflecting the same determination. We'll do it together, just like we always have. As the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, Jack felt a renewed sense of purpose. He had accepted the role of Realm Guardian, and he would honor that responsibility with everything he had. The future of Nexalis was in his hands, and he was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Jack turned to Maya, his expression serious but filled with determination. Thank you for being here, for supporting me. I couldn't do this without you. Maya smiled, her eyes shining with pride. We're a team, Jack. Always have been, always will be. Chapter 29, The Legacy. The days passed swiftly, the rhythm of rebuilding and vigilance blending into a new normal for the people of Nexalis. Jack often found himself standing on the balcony of the central command building, gazing out over the city that had become his home. The streets, now bustling with life and activity, were a testament to the resilience and determination of its inhabitants. One quiet morning, as the first light of dawn cast a golden glow over the city, Jack found himself lost in thought. The weight of his new responsibilities as Realm Guardian was ever present, but it was the memories of those who had fallen that filled his mind. He closed his eyes, allowing himself to remember the faces of his comrades, their bravery, and their sacrifices. Marcus's face appeared first, his fierce determination and unwavering loyalty etched into Jack's memory. Marcus had been more than just a friend, he had been a brother in arms, someone Jack could always rely on. The pain of his loss was still fresh, but it was tempered by the knowledge that Marcus's sacrifice had paved the way for their victory. Jack remembered the day Marcus had made the ultimate sacrifice. It had been one of the darkest moments of the invasion. The battle had raged fiercely, and the enemy had seemed unstoppable. But Marcus, with his unyielding spirit, had led a charge that turned the tide. He had given his life to ensure that the rift generator was destroyed, and his bravery had inspired everyone around him. As Jack stood on the balcony, the memories washed over him like a tide. He thought of the early days of the invasion, when despair had threatened to overwhelm them all. He remembered the faces of those who had fought alongside him, their determination unbroken even in the face of overwhelming odds. Each one of them had played a crucial role in the defense of Nexalis, and their memories were a source of strength for Jack. A soft breeze stirred the air, bringing with it the scent of blooming flowers from the city's gardens. Jack opened his eyes, feeling a sense of peace despite the sorrow that lingered in his heart. The city below him was alive with activity, a testament to the resilience and determination of its people. They had faced unimaginable horrors and had emerged stronger, united by their shared experiences. Jack? A soft voice broke through his reverie. He turned to see Maya standing behind him, her eyes filled with understanding. She had always been able to read him, to know when he needed a friend. Maya, Jack said, his voice tinged with emotion. I was just thinking about everyone we've lost. Marcus, and all the others. It's hard to believe how far we've come. Maya stepped closer, placing a comforting hand on his shoulder. They're a part of us, Jack. Their sacrifices have made us stronger, and we honor them by continuing to fight for a better future. Jack nodded, drawing strength from her words. You're right, we owe it to them to keep moving forward, to make sure their sacrifices weren't in vain. As they stood together, the city below began to awaken, the sounds of morning activity filling the air. Jack took a deep breath, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. He had a duty to protect Nexalis, to honor the legacy of those who had fought and fallen. Maya's presence was a comforting reminder of the strength they had found in each other. She had been his rock, always there to support him and offer guidance. Together, they had faced countless challenges and had emerged stronger. Jack knew that with her by his side, they could overcome anything. Do you remember the day we first met Marcus? Maya asked, a hint of a smile playing on her lips. Jack chuckled, the memory bringing a warmth to his heart. I do. He had just arrived in Nexalis, fresh from another battle. He was so eager to help, so full of energy. It didn't take long for him to become an integral part of our team. Maya nodded, her eyes reflecting the same fondness. He was always the first to volunteer, the first to offer a helping hand. He inspired us all. With the memories of his fallen comrades fueling his determination, Jack threw himself into the task of rebuilding and fortifying Nexalis. The Central Command building became the nerve center of their efforts, a place where plans were made and progress was tracked. Jack's team was instrumental in these efforts, their skills and dedication invaluable. Alina's technical expertise was key to the restoration and enhancement of the city's infrastructure. She oversaw the installation of advanced security systems, ensuring that any potential threats could be detected and neutralized swiftly. We need to make sure every corner of the city is covered, Elena explained during one of their planning sessions. These new sensors will give us an early warning system, and the reinforced barriers will provide additional protection. Jack nodded, appreciating her thoroughness. Good work, Elena. Let's prioritize the high-risk areas first and then expand our coverage. Maya's strategic mind was crucial in coordinating the rebuilding efforts. She worked closely with the community leaders, organizing teams to tackle various projects. Her ability to anticipate challenges and find solutions kept the momentum going, even when obstacles arose. We've mapped out the critical areas that need immediate attention, Maya said, pointing to a large map spread out on the table. If we focus our resources here and here, we can stabilize these sections and then move on to the less critical areas. Jack studied the map, nodding in agreement. That makes sense. We need to ensure the main infrastructure is solid before we tackle the outlying areas. Rafe's leadership in training the new cadre of warriors ensured that Nexalis would be ready to defend itself against any future invasions. He pushed the recruits hard, but his encouragement and experience inspired them to rise to the challenge. We've got a good group here, Rafe said, watching the recruits spar in the training yard. They're learning fast, and they've got the right spirit. We'll be ready for anything. Jack divided his time between overseeing these efforts and participating in the physical labor of rebuilding. He worked alongside the people of Nexalis, lifting beams, clearing debris, and helping to construct new buildings. His presence among them was a source of inspiration, a reminder that they were all in this together. One afternoon, while working on the reconstruction of the central marketplace, Jack paused to look around. The marketplace had once been the heart of Nexalis, a place where people gathered, traded goods, and shared stories. Seeing it come back to life filled him with a profound sense of hope. Children ran through the square, their laughter echoing off the newly built walls. Vendors set up their stalls, the vibrant colors of their wares contrasting with the gray of the surrounding buildings. The air was filled with the sounds of hammers, saws, and the chatter of people working together. Jack smiled, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. This was what they had fought for, a future where the people of Nexalis could live in peace and prosperity. Later that day, Jack visited one of the new defensive outposts on the outskirts of the city. The outpost was a critical part of their fortification strategy, designed to detect and repel any potential threats before they could reach the city. The outpost buzzed with activity. Engineers worked on installing the latest surveillance equipment, while soldiers drilled in the open yard. Jack's presence was met with salutes and nods of respect. Captain Reynolds, the officer in charge of the outpost, approached Jack with a report. The outpost is nearly operational, sir. We've installed the primary sensors and the first wave of defensive turrets. We're just waiting on some additional supplies to complete the fortifications. Jack reviewed the report, impressed with the progress. Excellent work, Captain. This outpost is crucial to our defense strategy. Ensure the men are well trained and ready for any situation. Reynolds nodded. "We'll be ready, sir. We won't let you down." Jack spent some time touring the outpost, speaking with the soldiers and engineers, offering words of encouragement and support. He knew that their morale was just as important as their training and equipment. The sense of unity and shared purpose was palpable, and it filled him with pride. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the outpost, Jack stood at the edge of the perimeter, looking out over the landscape. The city of Nexalis lay in the distance, a beacon of hope and resilience. He felt a deep sense of responsibility, but also a renewed determination to protect what they had built. On his way back to the Central Command building, Jack passed through several neighborhoods that had been rebuilt. The streets were filled with the sounds of life, children playing, neighbors chatting, and the hum of daily activity. It was a stark contrast to the desolation they had faced during the invasion, and it filled Jack with a sense of accomplishment. He stopped by one of the community centers, where a group of volunteers was organizing supplies for distribution. Jack joined them, helping to sort and pack boxes. The volunteers were a mix of ages and backgrounds, united by their desire to help their community. "Thank you for your hard work," Jack said, his voice filled with gratitude. "Your efforts are making a real difference." One of the volunteers, an elderly woman named Clara, smiled warmly at him. "We're all in this together, Jack. You've given us hope, and we want to do our part." As the evening wore on, Jack returned to the Central Command building, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. The city was coming back to life, and the people of Nexalis were united in their efforts to rebuild and fortify their home. The challenges were great, but so was their determination. In the command center, Maya, Elena, and Rafe were reviewing the day's progress. They looked up as Jack entered, their faces reflecting the same sense of accomplishment he felt. "We've made great strides today," Maya said, her eyes bright with excitement. "The marketplace is nearly complete, and the outposts are coming along nicely." Elena added, "The new security systems are operational, and we've expanded our sensor network. We're in a much better position to detect and respond to any threats." Rafe grinned, his usual humor shining through. "And the recruits are shaping up to be a formidable force. We'll be ready for anything." Jack nodded, his heart swelling with pride. "We've come a long way, but there's still much to do. Let's keep pushing forward. Together, we'll ensure that Nexalis remains safe and secure." As the team dispersed to their quarters, Jack took a moment to reflect on the day's achievements. The legacy of their fallen comrades was a constant source of inspiration, driving them to build a future filled with hope and promise. With each passing day, they were honoring that legacy, creating a city that stood as a beacon of resilience and determination. Later that night, Jack found himself back on the balcony, looking out over the city. The lights of Nexalis twinkled like stars, and the sounds of life filled the air. He felt a deep sense of peace and fulfillment. They had honored the legacy of their fallen comrades, and they were building a future filled with promise. Maya joined him, her presence a comforting reminder of their journey together. "What are you thinking about?" she asked softly. Jack smiled, his eyes reflecting the lights of the city. "I'm thinking about the future, Maya. About everything we've achieved and everything we still have to do." Maya nodded, her eyes filled with the same resolve. "We've come a long way, Jack. And we'll keep moving forward. Together." Chapter 30, The Guardian. The dawn of a new day broke over the city of Nexalis, casting a warm golden light across its bustling streets and renewed buildings. At the far edge of the city, in a secluded area surrounded by newly constructed defensive walls, stood the portal site. Once the epicenter of chaos and terror, it now lay sealed and dormant, a silent sentinel of the past and a reminder of the victories hard won. Jack stood at the portal site, his posture vigilant and eyes sharp. The air was crisp and filled with the sounds of morning, birds singing, leaves rustling, and the distant hum of city life. The portal itself was encased in a protective barrier, a combination of advanced technology and ancient wards that Elena and Maya had meticulously designed. Jack's gaze traveled over the barrier, noting the faint glow of the wards and the steady hum of the energy field. He felt a sense of pride and accomplishment. This barrier was not just a physical shield, it was a testament to their ingenuity and determination to protect their home. Elena approached, her eyes scanning the readouts on her handheld device. "The readings are stable," she reported. "The barrier is holding strong." Jack nodded, his expression resolute. "Good, we can't afford any mistakes. This portal remains our greatest threat." Elena met his gaze, her eyes filled with determination. "We won't let anything through. Not this time." Maya and Rafe joined them, completing the circle. Maya carried a tablet filled with strategic plans and defensive protocols, while Rafe had just returned from his morning drills with the recruits. "How are the defenses?" Maya asked, her voice steady. "Solid," Jack replied, "but we can't let our guard down. We've come too far to allow complacency." Rafe nodded in agreement. "The recruits are ready. We've drilled them hard, and they know what's at stake." Jack felt a surge of pride for his team. Each of them had dedicated their lives to protecting Nexalis, and together, they had forged an unbreakable bond. They were more than just comrades, they were family. As the morning sun climbed higher, Jack took a moment to reflect on the journey that had brought them here. They had faced unimaginable horrors, lost friends, and endured countless trials. But through it all, they had never given up. They had fought for their home, their people, and their future. "We've come a long way," Jack said quietly, his voice filled with emotion. "And we'll continue to protect what we've built. We owe it to those who came before us, and to those who will come after." Maya placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "We're with you, Jack. Every step of the way." Jack took a deep breath, feeling the weight of his new responsibilities but also the strength of his resolve. He had a duty to protect Nexalis, to honor the legacy of those who had fought and fallen. The day was a flurry of activity as Jack and his team worked tirelessly to ensure the portal's security. Elena fine-tuned the energy field, her eyes never leaving the readouts on her device. Maya coordinated with neighboring communities, establishing protocols for rapid response and mutual aid. Rafe supervised the training of the recruits, pushing them to their limits and beyond. As the afternoon sun cast long shadows across the portal site, Jack felt a deep sense of satisfaction. They were prepared, vigilant, and united in their purpose. The barrier around the portal glowed steadily, a beacon of their determination. Jack's thoughts drifted back to the day the portal had first opened, unleashing the horrors that had threatened to destroy their world. He remembered the fear, the chaos, and the sense of helplessness. But he also remembered the bravery, the sacrifices, and the unwavering resolve of his friends and comrades. They had faced the darkness and emerged stronger for it. A soft chime from Elena's device broke through his reverie. She glanced at the screen, her brow furrowing slightly. "We're picking up a slight energy fluctuation. It's minor, but we should check it out." Jack nodded, his body tensing with readiness. "Let's investigate. Rafe, stay here and keep watch. Maya, Elena, you're with me." The three of them moved swiftly through the perimeter, their senses heightened. The air was thick with tension, the only sounds the rustle of leaves and the distant hum of the barrier. They reached the source of the fluctuation, a small, nondescript section of the barrier where the energy field shimmered faintly. Elena knelt down, her fingers flying over the controls on her device. "It's a minor fluctuation, likely caused by a slight imbalance in the energy flow. I can fix it." Jack and Maya stood guard, their eyes scanning the surrounding area for any signs of danger. The seconds ticked by slowly, each one filled with a sense of urgency. Finally, Elena stood up, a look of satisfaction on her face. "Fixed," she announced. "The barrier is stable again." Jack breathed a sigh of relief. "Good work, Elena. Let's get back to the main site." As they made their way back, the tension in the air began to dissipate. The barrier glowed steadily once more, a symbol of their vigilance and resolve. Jack felt a renewed sense of determination. They had faced a minor setback, but they had handled it quickly and efficiently. They were ready for anything. Back at the main site, Rafe greeted them with a nod. "Everything okay?" Jack nodded. "Just a minor fluctuation. Elena fixed it. The barrier is stable." Rafe grinned. "Good to hear. We're ready for anything, Jack. We've got your back." As the day wore on, Jack remained at the portal site, ever vigilant. The people of Nexalis had come to see him as their guardian, a role he accepted with humility and determination. He understood the weight of their expectations and the responsibility that came with it. The portal site had become a place of reverence and caution. Groups of citizens often came to pay their respects, leaving flowers and mementos in honor of those who had fought and fallen. It was a somber reminder of the past and a symbol of their collective resolve. One afternoon, as Jack patrolled the perimeter, he noticed a group of children approaching, led by their teacher. The children's faces were filled with curiosity and awe as they gazed at the portal site. "Mr. Jack," one of the children called out, her voice filled with wonder. "Is it true that you fought the monsters and saved us?" Jack smiled warmly, kneeling down to their level. "Yes, it's true, but I didn't do it alone. We all worked together to protect our city." The teacher stepped forward, her expression one of gratitude. "We wanted to thank you, Jack. You've given us hope and a future." Jack felt a swell of emotion. He looked at the children, their bright eyes filled with innocence and promise. "It's my honor to protect you. And I promise to keep you safe from any future threats." The children cheered, their voices ringing out with joy. Jack stood, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. These children were the future of Nexalis, and he would do everything in his power to ensure they grew up in a world free from fear. As the group departed, Maya approached, having observed the interaction. "You've become a symbol of hope for them, Jack. It's a heavy burden, but you carry it well." Jack nodded, his eyes fixed on the horizon. "I won't let them down, Maya. We've built something incredible here, and I'll protect it with everything I have." Later that evening, as the sun set and the sky turned a deep shade of purple, Jack gathered his team at the portal site. The barrier glowed softly in the twilight, a beacon of their vigilance. "We've done well," Jack began, his voice steady. "But we must remain vigilant. The portal is dormant now, but we can't predict the future. We need to be prepared for anything." Elena, Maya, and Rafe nodded in agreement. They knew the stakes and were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. "We've strengthened our defenses and trained our people," Elena said. "We're as ready as we can be." Maya added, "And our alliances with neighboring communities are solid. We can count on their support if needed." Rafe grinned, his usual humor shining through. "And our recruits are tough as nails. They're ready to defend Nexalis." Jack felt a deep sense of pride for his team. They had come so far and achieved so much. Together, we've built something amazing. And together, we'll protect it. As the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, Jack made a silent vow. He would remain ever vigilant, ready to face whatever threats might come. The legacy of those who had fought and fallen was a constant reminder of their duty, and he was determined to honor it by ensuring the future of peace and prosperity for Nexalis. The team dispersed, each member taking their post for the night watch. Jack remained by the portal, his gaze fixed on the shimmering barrier. The glow of the wards was a comforting presence, a symbol of their preparedness. Jack's thoughts wandered back to the early days of the invasion. The fear, the chaos, the overwhelming odds. They had faced it all and had emerged stronger. He remembered Marcus's bravery, the sacrifices of so many others, and the unity that had carried them through. Each memory was a reminder of why they fought and what they had achieved. Suddenly, a soft sound broke through the quiet. Jack turned to see an elderly woman approaching, a bundle of flowers in her arms. She walked slowly, her steps measured and deliberate. "Good evening," Jack greeted her warmly. The woman smiled, her eyes twinkling with gratitude. "Good evening, Jack. I've come to pay my respects." Jack watched as she knelt by the barrier, carefully placing the flowers at its base. She bowed her head in a moment of silence, her lips moving in a whispered prayer. After a few moments, she stood and turned to Jack. "Thank you, Jack, for everything you've done. You've given us hope and a future." Jack felt a lump in his throat, deeply moved by her words. "It's my honor to protect Nexalis. We've all worked together to make this possible." The woman nodded, her eyes shining with tears. "I know, and we're all grateful. May the stars watch over you, Jack." She walked away, leaving Jack alone with his thoughts. He felt a renewed sense of purpose, knowing that the people of Nexalis were counting on him. He vowed to protect them with everything he had, to honor the legacy of those who had fought and fallen. As the night deepened, Jack remained at the portal, his senses sharp and his resolve unshakable. The stars twinkled overhead, a silent promise of hope and continuity. Jack knew that their journey was far from over, but he was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. With his team by his side and the support of the people of Nexalis, they would protect their home and ensure a future of peace and prosperity. Together, they would rise above any threat. The night passed slowly, each moment filled with the silent promise of vigilance and protection. Jack stood guard, his eyes never leaving the portal. The barrier glowed steadily, a testament to their preparedness and resolve. Jack knew that they had done everything they could to protect Nexalis, and he felt a deep sense of peace. As the first light of dawn began to break over the horizon, casting a warm glow across the city, Jack felt a renewed sense of purpose. He turned to face the portal, his expression resolute. "We stand vigilant," he whispered to himself, "ready to protect our home. Whatever comes through that portal, we'll face it together. We are the guardians of Nexalis, and we will not falter." The morning brought with it a sense of optimism and hope. Jack gathered his team for a final briefing at the portal site. Elena, Maya, and Rafe stood by his side, their expressions reflecting the same determination he felt. "We've prepared for this moment," Jack began, his voice steady. "The portal is dormant, but we remain vigilant. We've built strong defenses, trained our people, and forged alliances. We're ready for whatever comes next." Elena stepped forward, her eyes bright with confidence. "The monitoring systems are fully operational. We'll know immediately if there's any change in the portal's activity." Maya added, "Our alliances with neighboring communities are stronger than ever. We have their support if we need it." Rafe grinned, his usual humor shining through. "And our recruits are ready to defend Nexalis with everything they've got." Jack felt a deep sense of pride for his team. They had come so far and achieved so much. "Together, we've built something incredible. And together, we'll protect it." The night was calm, the city of Nexalis bathed in the soft glow of lanterns and the distant hum of life. Jack stood alone at the portal site, his thoughts a mix of reflection and anticipation. The barrier hummed steadily, a symbol of their resilience and determination. Jack's mind wandered to the past, to the battles fought and the friends lost. Each memory was a reminder of the journey they had undertaken, the sacrifices made, and the victories won. He thought of Marcus, whose bravery had turned the tide of the invasion, and the countless others who had given their lives to protect their home. A soft rustle of footsteps broke through his reverie. Maya approached, her expression thoughtful. "Can't sleep?" Jack shook his head, a small smile playing on his lips. "Too much on my mind. Thinking about the past and the future." Maya nodded, joining him at the barrier. "We've come a long way, Jack. And we'll keep moving forward. Together." Jack turned to her, his gaze steady. "I know, but there's always that uncertainty. The portal may be dormant, but it's still a threat. We can't predict what might come through." Maya placed a reassuring hand on his arm. "We're ready, Jack. We've prepared for this. And whatever comes, we'll face it together." Jack took a deep breath, feeling the weight of his responsibilities but also the strength of their resolve. "You're right. We've done everything we can to protect Nexalis. And we'll continue to do so." The night passed slowly, the calmness a stark contrast to the turmoil of their past. Jack and Maya stood watch, their presence a silent promise to the people of Nexalis. As the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, casting a golden glow across the city, Jack felt a renewed sense of purpose. The morning brought with it a sense of optimism and hope. Jack gathered his team for a final briefing at the portal site. Elena, Maya, and Rafe stood by his side, their expressions reflecting the same determination he felt. "We've prepared for this moment," Jack began, his voice steady. "The portal is dormant, but we remain vigilant. We've built strong defenses, trained our people, and forged alliances. We're ready for whatever comes next." Elena stepped forward, her eyes bright with confidence. "The monitoring systems are fully operational. We'll know immediately if there's any change in the portal's activity." Maya added, "Our alliances with neighboring communities are stronger than ever. We have their support if we need it." Rafe grinned, his usual humor shining through. "And our recruits are ready to defend Nexalis with everything they've got." Jack felt a deep sense of pride for his team. They had come so far and achieved so much. "Together, we've built something incredible. And together, we'll protect it." As the sun rose higher in the sky, casting a warm glow over the city, Jack felt a renewed sense of purpose. The legacy of those who had fought and fallen was a constant reminder of their duty, and he was determined to honor it by ensuring the future of peace and prosperity for Nexalis. He turned to face the portal, his expression resolute. "We stand vigilant, ready to protect our home. Whatever comes through that portal, we'll face it together. We are the guardians of Nexalis, and we will not falter." The team nodded in agreement, their faces reflecting the same determination. They were ready to face whatever the future held, united by their shared experiences and their commitment to protecting their home. As the day wore on, the people of Nexalis went about their lives, secure in the knowledge that their guardians stood watch. Jack felt a deep sense of fulfillment, knowing that they were prepared for any challenge. The future of Nexalis was bright, and they were ready to face it together. As the sun set and the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, Jack stood at the portal site, ever vigilant. He knew that the journey was far from over, but he was ready to face whatever came next. With his team by his side and the support of the people of Nexalis, they would protect their home and ensure a future of peace and prosperity. Jack took a deep breath, feeling the cool night air fill his lungs. He glanced around at his team, each member a vital part of their success. Elena, with her brilliant mind and unwavering dedication, Maya, with her strategic genius and steadfast support, and Rafe, with his strength and humor that kept them all grounded. "Thank you, all of you," Jack said, his voice filled with emotion. "We've accomplished so much together. And I know we'll continue to do great things. Nexalis is safe because of us. And it will remain safe, as long as we stand together." Elena smiled, her eyes shining. "We're not going anywhere, Jack. We're with you." Maya nodded, her hand resting on Jack's shoulder. "Always." Rafe grinned, his usual humor shining through. "You can count on us, Jack. We've got your back." As the night deepened, the team stood together, their bond stronger than ever. They had faced unimaginable challenges and had emerged victorious. The future of Nexalis was secure in their hands, and they were ready to face whatever came next. Jack looked out over the city, the lights twinkling like stars in the darkness. He felt a deep sense of peace and fulfillment. They had honored the legacy of their fallen comrades, and they were building a future filled with promise. With a final look at the portal, Jack made a silent vow. He would remain ever vigilant, ready to protect his home and his people. Together, they would face any threat, rise above any challenge, and ensure that Nexalis remained a beacon of hope and resilience. The journey was far from over, but Jack knew they were ready. With his team by his side and the support of the people of Nexalis, they would protect their home and ensure a future of peace and prosperity. Together, they would rise above. The stars twinkled overhead, a silent promise of hope and continuity. Jack felt the weight of his responsibilities, but he also felt the strength of their unity. "We are the guardians of Nexalis," Jack said quietly, his voice filled with determination. "And we will not falter." With that, he turned to his team, a smile playing on his lips. "Let's get to work."